Well, hello everyone. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, whatever time you're joining us at. Welcome to our day 6 of the May Her Story Online Summit. My name is Ruth. I am joining you from Harare in Zimbabwe. And my co host for the evening, or for the morning, or for the day is Sarah Gillian.
Hello.
Sarah, how are you? And tell us where you're joining us from.
Hi, my name is Sarah Jillian, and I'm joining you from Toronto, Canada.
Wow, Sarah, welcome. And you've been with us for how long now? How many days has it been?
Well, I think it's been, all week, so that's 4 days. This is the fourth day, and then a day last week, so this is the fifth day.
Thank you so much. Thank you, Sarah, for being part of this tribe and part
Oh,
of
it's
this program.
just
It's
wonderful.
really it's been wonderful having you on board.
Thank you. Thank you very much. It's
And
been very nice.
like the past 5 days, we have a wonderful lineup of speakers that are coming from all over the world. And our first speaker for the day is Ali Griffith, Dr. Ali Griffith. And we're going to play her video, and then we'll come back, Sarah, and chime in and just comment on her presentation.
Fantastic. Looking
And
forward.
before we go to the video, of course,
Yes,
we would like to wish Gertrude the
yes,
best. She's still not well, but she's doing
yes,
better. And
yes.
we are wishing her that she
Speedy
gets well.
recovery.
Yes. And
Yes.
thank you, Terry, for joining
Hey,
us.
Terry.
Welcome. Hi. And just introduce yourself and tell us where you are at before we go to the first video.
Okay. I am Terry Weems from the state of Indiana in the United States. And I am also part of the panel, and I just finished another recording on my own StreamYard channel.
Awesome. Awesome. Thank you for joining us and thank you for being part of Her Story Tribe. Now we will go to our first video, Dr. Ali Griffith.
Hi, I am Dr. Ali Griffith. I am based in Brooklyn, New York. I am 45 years old. And my story is something about
Hmm.
I don't know what
What
happened.
happened there?
What
I'm
happened
not
there?
sure.
We lost our controller, who was Gertrude. So this is what I'll do. I'm going to play.
Okay.
Oh, there is a bio. Let me just
Okay.
read the bio. Maybe Gertrude will come back on.
Okay. And
Sure.
I'm going to log out and log back in because I am not where I need to be.
Okay.
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 So should
So
I
see you in a
entertain as a
bit.
clown?
No.
Somebody's got to perform in between a commercial.
Okay.
All right. Okay.
Yeah,
Let me just read their bio and then
okay.
we'll
I'm
play
coming
the
out.
video.
Okay.
So Dr. Ali Griffith is a TEDx speaker,
Mhm.
number one best-selling author and business strategist coach. Her fiery energy and innate understanding of business strategy has allowed her to share stages and lead support teams with titans such as Tony Robbins, Dean Graziosi, Steve Harvey, and Lisa Nichols. Her innovative approach seamlessly blends business strategy and personal development, allowing clients to maximize their time, talents, and profitability through a 1, 2, 3 method of simplifying overcomplicated processes. An audiologist and speech pathologist by profession, Dr. Ali is trained to hear people in order to feel them. And as a proud autism mom, Dr. Ali knows firsthand the unique mindset hurdles faced by ambitious mothers and caretakers. Whether they are wives, mothers, or career professionals seeking financial freedom, Dr. Ali helps women get to the heart of their true purpose in the world and supports them on their journey from barely visible to badass legacy brand honors. So, ladies, our
Fantastic.
first fantastic sounds fantastic, doesn't she? So that's our first speaker, and I will just share her video. Excuse us for the technical glitches.
Yeah.
These are a
Something
good
I
part
always
of
have,
us.
technical difficulties. You have to fill in the time. So here we
I'm
are
telling
waiting
you.
for the glitches.
Yes, there we go.
Hi, I am Dr. Ali Griffith. I am based in Brooklyn, New York. I am 45 years old. And my story is something about overcoming challenges and still standing here. What you see right now is a business coach, a strategist with mompreneurs, helping them to launch their brand, a trained and certified audiologist and speech language pathologist, and I'm also an autism mom. What you may not know is that I am a product of a single parent home where I was born in beautiful Stillwater, Oklahoma, for both of my parents as they were going through their graduate studies. Um, from there, we went back to our native country, which is in Guyana, South America, where I was raised as a young child. Then migrated to Brooklyn, New York, and have been here ever since. I'm grateful for my mom for the things that she has done to now produce two doctors in her family. She did a lot of it through her own growth, through her own struggle, through her own challenges. She is an orphan. She was raised without both parents. Both parents died at different ages when she was young. And her story is of overcoming her challenges while she raised two young children. So, what you see right now are a product, myself and my brother, products of her overcoming her challenges and then me learning about how to overcome challenges through her. See, I was blessed with an education because of her overcoming, because of her working two jobs, being a trained social worker, yet still working on the weekends, yet still taking care of the elderly, yet still taking care of those who did not, less fortunate. Can you believe actually taking care of less fortunate than herself as she was raising her children? So watching her overcoming her challenges, even through the nights when she's crying, even through the nights when she felt alone, made me see strength, a certain level of strength that I just didn't know existed because in my safe world, all I had to do as a child was just go to school and grow and learn. But yet I saw her overcoming her challenges. So growing up, I had the privilege of going to school, like many of us do, studying different fields. I became extremely interested in the communication sciences. Decided at a later stage in college that I was going to study first pre med because I wanted to do medicine and work with children, pediatrician. And then realizing that that wasn't for me. I was actually living out my parents' dreams, like my dad's dream, who wanted all his kids to be doctors. So here I am trying to be this doctor, this medical doctor that really wasn't what I was interested in until I began to realize, like my mom, I had a fascination with helping people because she's a social worker. And I saw her working and all the people that she was helping during that time. And I said to myself, I want to help people like that. But my mom said, don't do social work. She said, you put in a lot of time and sometimes you don't get the rewards of the level of work you did. So I went into speech language pathology and audiology, which are fields in communication. So pretty much a simple lifestyle with my mom. We're now in Brooklyn, taking care of her as a single mom, taking care of her children, us doing the best that we can. I then strive to be the best child, the best person that I could be, because once again, I saw my mom going through a lot, and I didn't want to be an added burden on her. There began the beginning of trying to be perfect. How many of us are sitting down out there trying to be perfect because of the expectations of our parents? Not intentional, but yet still subliminally there. Make sure your clothes are always straight, make sure you're always sitting up, make sure that your language is right, curbing who we truly are to become something that's accepted by society. So as a child, as a young adult, and then as an adult, I had this need to become perfect. So lo and behold, I did the perfect thing. I went to school, I graduated, I got married to my college sweetheart, post college sweetheart, and we were having our first child. Here comes this bouncing baby boy. I did all the right things during pregnancy. I did my prenatal vitamins. I went to the doctor. I listened to the rules. I gained a few more pounds than I should have. Bouncing baby boy is here. So I'm working as a speech language pathologist at this time, and I knew I'm working with children with special needs. Because I always said as a child I wanted to help people, especially people that are different and unique. Here comes my bouncing baby boy, my ideal of perfect. He began to show signs of flickering lights on and off. He began to show signs of spinning. He began to show signs of not showing me eye contact. He began to show me signs of autism. Now, I'm working with children with autism. I'm helping families with autism, but I didn't expect to have my own quote unquote perfect child with a perfect mom in a perfect life to be diagnosed on the spectrum. There began the unraveling of my world, where I went outside and I worked, I helped others, and then I would come home and literally cry, crumble right behind the door, literally slide down to the floor as he began to do all of the things that he had no control over, but yet all I saw were checkbox being ticked off under symptoms and signs of a child with autism. So we got him early intervention. I went straight into mommy mode, make sure he got the things that he needed, because as a trained professional, I knew the things that he needed. I just felt like a failure. I felt like I was less than perfect. I felt like a horrible person because I thought the fact that he was diagnosed with something meant that something was wrong with him. I thought it meant that something was wrong with me. So even though I'm smiling with the world, doing all the things perfect, I still was crumbling inside. Through years of doing personal development work, through years of seeing a therapist, through years of watching him unfold, going through different challenges as he's going through his milestones, everything being delayed, everything being not like other kids, comparing him to others when we get to the playground, all the other kids are socializing. My Zachary is off by himself. All the other kids are jumping and doing all the fun games. My Zachary is twirling and swinging and spinning and playing with leaves. It was difficult because, like a child, I wanted to fit in. As an adult, I wanted to fit in. I wanted him to fit in. So there began my journey as becoming an autism mom. There began my journey of towards acceptance of autism. I wrote a book about this a few years ago called All Amazing Gift, A Journey to Autism Acceptance. It's available on Amazon and available on my website. But it's really about the journey towards autism acceptance. So I wrote a book because it was part of my self-work, helping me to place all the things that I was going through. I had a business helping kids with martial arts, smart kids. because, well, kids on the spectrum, because of course now I have my child on the spectrum, so I wanted to help other kids on the autism spectrum. So through this business and now through this book, I'm learning all the business skills, studying with some of the greats like Lisa Nichols and Steve Harvey, and, just being in circles where I can learn the best, I can learn the most in terms of taking my business to the next level. And all through that, I'm healing. All through that, I'm doing personal development work. All through that, I'm doing my journey towards acceptance. Because at first they didn't know. At first, I was pretty silent about my life until I had to realize that I had to start sharing the true me, the real me, my real life. And that began my acceptance towards amazing. Autism being amazing, not so much a curse, but a gift that my child was unique and that I was unique as a person. And I began to grow in strength and grow in confidence. And yes, we're still going through the challenges every day, but my perspective changed. How I looked at him, I began to see him as strength instead of weakness. I began to see myself as strength instead of weakness. And as I began to share my story with All Amazing Gift, the Journey to Autism Acceptance, other moms started to attract towards me, started to gravitate towards me. And had all of a sudden all these autism moms asking, how are you doing this? How are you writing and speaking and traveling the world and still taking your son sometimes and still navigating the things of autism? And I just said, I watched my mom with her strength go through her challenges and still smile and take care of us and still take care of other people as a social worker. It's all I knew. So through that space, I grew autism mompreneurs. I now help other moms in establishing their brand. Just the same things I did: create my product, create services, create things that can impact others, travel the world, do things like retreats where we actually work on the beach, do business on the beach. I call it Biz Beach Retreat, and then shift our perspective towards lives. I even have autism moms. We call it All Amazing Moms Retreat. So we take the autism moms, which is my nonprofit, we'll take them for a retreat where we just work on personal development skills and then helping them to empower their gifts and their strengths within themselves so they can empower their children's gifts and strengths within themselves. So my story is continuously unfolding, and it's an honor to share it with you where I can actually share the down moments and the moments where I doubted myself and the moments where I doubted my son and and the capacity to be a good mom. Sometimes I still question myself, am I really a good mom? Because I have really good moments of patience and then moments I'm so grateful. I have a community and a team of supporters that's my family and now my tribe and sometimes most of the world because I'm always sharing Zachary. Zachary is now a bestseller for a book. He has his coloring book. It's a I Am. It's an affirmations book. He's now walking around with confidence because his mom decided to find herself and stop seeing the weakness in autism and began to see it as a true amazing gift. And for that, I'm thankful to share my story with you.
What an incredible story. You know, when I listen to you, I get a sense that you were already standing on the shoulders of giants.
Mm-hmm.
You know, your description of your mother and what she did for you and for her family is probably the strength that you draw on now as you go through this journey with your son. So, if
Mm-hmm.
there was a woman who is listening to us right now, she's just got the diagnosis, she's just found out that her child has special needs. If you could go back to the younger you and give yourself three nuggets of wisdom, something
Mm-hmm.
somebody to say to you, what would that be?
You were given a gift. It's going to feel very, very challenging almost every single day. Look yourself in the mirror and say, I am the gift, and so is my child. Number two, start looking towards strengths and gravitating towards the strengths and holding on to the strengths than the weaknesses, because the weaknesses will pull you down and it'll lead you into negativity. When you begin to identify their strengths and your strengths, it'll empower you to show up every day, even through the challenges. Number three, you can't do this alone. Stop trying to do this alone. You don't have to be the superwoman. You can ask for help. Many are next to you that want to help, but don't know you need the help if you don't just say the words, I need help or help me. So ask for help. And then here's the best part, you got to be open to receiving the help.
Wow. Wow. This reminds me of a poem, a short story I read once. It was called Welcome to Holland. And it's a description of a woman who's carrying a baby and she's all prepared that she's going to speak in Dutch or in French. And then she gets to her destination. She's in a different country, different
Mm,
language, having to learn different skills. And that's the challenge that most autism parents experience, correct?
yes, absolutely. It's scary because our worlds is so unexpected each day. I mean, everyone's life is unexpected each day, but we can literally be with our child and everything is going smoothly, and then changes happen, and we have to
Changes.
navigate that.
Yeah, yeah. Now, you are traveling the world.
Mm.
It sounds to me like you have not let this hold you back. If anything, it has fueled you in a very unique way. Where does that strength come from?
It came from when I was actually younger, and I asked him, Zachary, what do you want to do when you grow up? And he said, Mom, I just want to travel the world. And I said, maybe I can blend both of those in where we can travel the world and we can share our experiences and he can still be himself. So I don't have to scaffold it and pretend it's something else. He gets to be Zachary, living with autism that shows up in different ways and get to travel the world. So it's a combination of both.
It's a win-win situation for both of you by the sound of
Mhm.
it. That is
Yes,
absolutely wonderful. And again, a very good illustration of how you can turn your lemons into lemonade.
absolutely.
Wow. Now, I watched your TED talk. How recently did you do that? You really came up with three powerful lessons for simplifying your life and your business. Share with us a little bit what that was all about.
Oh man, that was at the end of last year. I was given the amazing gift of doing a TED Talk. And one of the things as a strategist and as an autism mom was that I am often faced with simplifying complicated. When speaking to a child, when engaging with a family with autism, we really have to keep it simple because of the overwhelm and sometimes overstimulation so that we can actually convey our thoughts and they can receive it. So I began to approach this with business as I had so many moms coming to me and they were overwhelmed with their lives or overwhelmed with branding and marketing and content and sales and all these facets that's part of a business and growing a business. And I started to realize that they were overwhelmed because it was complicated in their eyes. So the same thing I did with autism, which is simplify it into simple steps, or the same thing I did with my moms that I began to work with, or the women that came to work with me, simplifying business strategies, helping them to learn about systems, helping them to learn about how to use structure and strategies instead of just jumping into overwhelm and putting everything on our plates and then just stopping it. My goal was to create a space where when we simplify the complicated process, and I'm not saying that it's completely obliterated, that it's gone, but it just creates micro steps and micro wins. And instead of looking for the big, gigantic results, we get it done in our own time at our own pace, which feels a lot more like operating in flow than operating in overwhelm.
That's awesome. That is absolutely amazing. Now, take me through a step by step process on how you help other women in similar situations turn their lives around. If somebody was listening to us now, is struggling financially, has a special needs child, just walk us through the process that you would take.
Awesome. So the first thing we do, and this is just simplifying the matter, we go much deeper in our services or in my coaching. But if I was to simplify it, I would say the first thing we do is to work on their mindset, which is of course making sure they see their strengths and um, tapping into their spaces where they're created to either support someone or help others, or what is their genius or gift that they were supposed to be out here doing prior to having a child with autism. So a lot of us cast aside our dreams when we have the overwhelm with a child with special needs, and or just overwhelm in life. So helping them to tap back into that space again of how they want to show up in the world and identify that space. Once we are clear on where they want to go, so that's clarification, we create a plan, a simple business plan. We have a one-page business plan that I do with them, one-page biz plan. Like I said, I complicate the pages of the business plan into one page. So they have some structure in terms of how to now take this idea and now implement it. Once we have the implementation plan, now it's how do we activate it and how do we execute? So then we move into the step by step process of what are the first things that we need to do to get to our final results or the results that we would like to have. And we just start activating the plan. So I have something called shift your mindset, ignite your inner fire, which is the plan, and then make power moves, which is the execution part.
Wow.
Fantastic. You've really simplified it and made it easy for anyone to plug right into this. So
Mm-hmm.
now let me take you into the future.
Mm.
Let's imagine that time is an illusion, because time is really a construct that human beings have put together to we get to work at 8 and finish at 5. If I could take you to the 100-year-old you, and you're now sitting in your rocking chair, surrounded by your children, your grandchildren, your dogs, and your cats, and
Mm.
you're reflecting back on this amazing life that you were able to create despite all of the challenges you've had, what would you say to that wise woman?
You did it. You showed up every day. You became the best you, even through all that was thrown at you. You've impacted so many women and families throughout this world. You did it. And now, little ones, it's up to you for you to keep showing up. Look at your legacy and now live your legacy.
You are literally a living legacy from what I can see. Some people wait to bequeath a certain amount of money when they die. You are living it and giving it as you go. And I do believe that most women forget that we have this strength inside us. We forget that we have the answers to all of our problems, and we look outside of ourselves to find the solutions.
Mhm.
And I think that's why you focus on the mindset first, to get that person to really see that they've got the solution, they've got this. It's
Yeah.
very, very inspiring, absolutely inspiring. So,
Thank
my last question for you is this: is there anything that I left out that I should have asked you?
you. I feel like I've lived such a rich life. I'm here to empower women, to offer them strategies, to simplify the process, to help them to make sure that they're not alone. Yes, we can tap into our strengths, but one thing I learned was I needed to invest in me, to have support, to make this shorter and easier because life in itself is overwhelming and can be complicated. So my best advice would be to you is find a tribe, find a coach or a mentor, find some place that feels like home. So you're not doing the thing called life and doing the process called business by yourself. Whether it's with our tribe, which is the CEO Mompreneurs, whether it's with Her Story and the rest of the tribe that's here, just find some space that feels good for you, that you can be your best selves and still build on that best self every day. Accept you, love you, and be okay with where you are right now, knowing that you're being prepared for your next. To get in contact with us, you can always find us at Dr. Ali Griffith all across Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, YouTube, Pinterest, every place, TikTok, we're all at Dr. Ali Griffith. And it's an honor to come and serve, support you, and just share my story with you. Hopefully, it is landed and received, and it has impacted someone out there, and you can let us know in the notes below or wherever you're seeing this that you heard it and I received it.
Fantastic. Wow, you have left me energized and inspired. I'm hoping that there is somebody out there who will come across this video online whose life will be transformed. I do believe that we change the world one story at a time, one woman at a time. And that is through the sharing of our stories that we give strength to others. We give hope and we give inspiration. So thank you so much for coming online and gracing us with your presence today. It's an absolute honor to have met you and to have you be part of our tribe. I'm excited that you tick the box that your TV show in New Zealand and Australia. So I'll say my goodbyes to our audience, but don't go away. Thank you, everybody, for coming online today. We're trying to attract women from all over the world who have amazing stories, diverse stories, stories of challenges and triumphs that life knocks us with every single day. So come back again tomorrow. I'll be interviewing yet another amazing guest. In the meantime, have a fantastic day, morning, or evening, wherever you are in the world. And bye for now. Thank you so much, Dr. Griffith.
Thank you for having me.
Wow, that was inspiring. I mean, she went through some very difficult times, and to pull it together like that and to succeed with her son, unbelievably beautiful, beautiful.
Hello, Jerry. Wonderful to see you, my friend. I've missed you.
And you, she's looking good. Hi,
Unmute,
Jerry.
unmute. We can't hear you.
There we go.
Okay. Oh
So
my gosh. How are you?
I'm doing fine. I'm doing good.
I am off camera because I have COVID and in bed and trying to rest. So I'll be in the background. But everybody, you have to meet this amazing angel on this planet called Jerry or Lion. Jerry was one of the very first women who came to my first event in Las Vegas in July 2019. She was one of the first 100 women who stepped up to come and share her story. She has been with us since through ups and downs, trials and tribulations. And oh my gosh, I'm so glad you're here, Jerry.
Thank you. I'm glad
And
to
how
be
are you
here.
feeling?
Mostly just tired. I'm doing pretty good though. I mean, I actually have been able to start walking again, which is huge for me because I haven't walked since the beginning of the cancer. So I'm back on that track. And
Are you how do you feel about sharing that story with us today?
about the cancer, oh,
Mm-hmm.
I could share that. That's cancer is my COVID story.
You've been through a lot. You actually need
Yeah.
to go back a few steps from when COVID started
Yeah,
because
that's what I'll do. I'll do that. Okay, so
yeah. So
and-
we will exit stage. We are going to give
okay,
you the stage.
okay,
All right.
okay. I started. I mean, I was a flight attendant. I've been a flight attendant for 16 years, and I was on a trip, and it was a 3-day trip. And when I left on the trip, I had this little. It looked like a little pimple on my hand, of all things. And I thought, well, that's a weird place to get one, and it was kind of painful. Well, 3 days later, at the end of the trip, it had grown to the size of a pea. This was March 3rd of 2020. COVID had just started. It was pre-mask on airplanes. It was pre-knowing what they were going to do with us. It was pre all that stuff. And by the third day, it had become pretty painful, even though it was this little thing on my hand. And I thought, well, okay, I need to go get this checked out. So I went into my supervisor's office and told him I need to take some time and find out what this thing is on my hand. Customers were getting grossed out by it because it was not very pretty. So I need to take care of this. So I went to the doctor and they said, oh, you just got an infected gland. It's no big deal. So they sent me home with some kind of an antibiotic. And then within days, COVID hit hard enough that they started closing doctors' offices. And my doctor's office was closed from then on. So here I am. Each day, a new, looked like a blister would kind of add onto it and it would pop up, and then it would add itself onto the tumor. And this was on the back side of my right hand. I'm right-handed. I got to a point where I couldn't believe what I was watching. I was watching this thing develop every single day. And I thought, what is this? It looked like nothing I'd ever seen before, and no idea that it was cancer. And so then I started calling the doctor's office. It's getting more painful. Is that antibiotic's not working? But they weren't answering me because they had closed the office because of COVID. I guess everybody in the office got COVID, and so they had to shut down. And not knowing what to do, at that point, they were saying, don't go to emergency rooms. There's too many people there with COVID. And I'm like, I don't have COVID, so at least I don't have COVID. So I let it go and let it go. And 3 weeks into it, now it's the size of a golf ball. And the pain is beyond what I could imagine I'd ever feel on my hand. I had to sleep sitting up with my hand propped up on a pillow so that I could tolerate the pain, and it was just excruciating. So I finally got so upset about it that, and I'm a pretty calm person. I don't really react much to hard situations, but this time I was ready to react. So I called the doctor's office one more time, and they had an answering message. And by this time they had set up an answering machine message at someone's home. And I said, I need the doctor to refer me to a surgeon or to anyone that can look at this. I don't know what it is. It's very painful. Well, they referred me to a surgeon, a hand surgeon. And they weren't set up yet for pictures, so I couldn't send them pictures of it. So I go, we're going to send you for an MRI, and we're going to send you this. I go in for the MRI, and this thing is just huge. And the guy doing the MRI looked at me and like, I'm really sorry about what I need to do right now. So he took this thing, this clamp thing, and he clamped it down on top of the tumor and squished it down. Yeah, about passed out that day. At the end of that, I left his office and went to see the surgeon a couple of days later. No, it was a week from the time I had that. And when the surgeon walked in, he said, oh my gosh, it's bigger than it was last week. And he very quickly said, okay, you have a squamous cell carcinoma. It's a cancer, and we're going to do surgery, and we're going to get rid of it. And all I heard was that they were going to get rid of it. I could not be happier about anything in my life is that they're going to get rid of it. And so plans were made. I went through all the stuff, went in for surgery. And surgery, it was so big they had to do a transplant of tissues, a graft from my hip. They wanted to take it, just because this is a humorous part to me, they wanted to take it from my belly. Well, my belly has a lot of stretch marks on it. And can you imagine? I did not want the rest of my life looking at stretch marks on my hand from my belly. So I told him he could take it from the hip, and they did. So I didn't have to look at stretch marks. The doctor did a really good job. The graft came out beautiful. My hand looked really good. It took some time to heal. And I thought I was free and clear. And then about 8 months later, the tumor started growing again. I went back in to see the surgeon, and he was quite disappointed that it had grown again. I was disappointed that it had grown again. It wasn't quite as painful as the time before, but we weren't going to get to that stage. I then went ahead and he sent me for an MRI. He wanted to make sure it was cancer, because he said it could have been some other things that like a blood vessel that was loose and growing some things in it. Who knew? So he gets the results back. We had scheduled surgery, and he called me and said he was not going to do my surgery, that he said needed to send me to City of Hope. And City of Hope is one of the is a place that God sends his angels to work. The most amazing people I met during my time in City of Hope. They referred me to a surgeon. I went in and saw her, and she made plans for surgery. They made all different kinds of plans. They had these plans that were like, I was either going to be in the hospital for 4 days, having 4 different surgeries, or they were going to do something simple. They opted to do the simple. The day of surgery, she said, we're just going to cut through the graft, remove the cancer, and then sew you back up. And I thought, okay, I could do this, you know. Unfortunately, 2 weeks later, the tumor started growing again. They hadn't gotten it all. So then the next option was radiation. And I just finished radiation about 7 or 8 weeks ago now. And radiation is a very interesting thing to go through. You walk in there, and it was just on my hand. So I stood up, and for 13 seconds, they zapped me with this radiation. First 3 weeks, couldn't even tell I'd had it done. It started discoloring a little bit, but no pain, no problem. I thought, this is a piece of cake. Well, then, about the 4th week, the skin started breaking down, and it just became really nasty and pretty painful. Went through all that, finished it with 6.5 weeks of radiation. Did the graduation from City of Hope, where they have you ring a bell, which I really enjoyed doing. Got my balloon, and off I went to home. And the hand festered for another week or so, where it just got worse and worse. And then finally one day I looked down, and there was new skin growing, and I couldn't have been more happy about anything than new skin growing. And so it's now healed. It looks really good. It's tender, but no big deal. It'll take, they say, probably a year before I don't feel that tenderness on that part of my hand. But my hand functions again. And my hand had not functioned properly since the beginning in early 2020. One of the things that I've done in my life has been a sign language interpreter. I did that for 20 years, 12 years in the educational system. And being able to sign again has really brought me a lot of joy. I'm now teaching. I have an autistic granddaughter, and I'm trying to teach her sign language. It's going rough, but it's going to take me a long time to get her to understand what we're doing. And I'm also teaching another one of my grandchildren sign language, and he's picking up really fast. So I'm enjoying that a lot. I have had some other medical issues that they're working on trying to figure out that they have suspect, but nothing has been confirmed about that. So that's basically my, right in the middle of all that, right after the surgery, the first surgery, the following November, my husband and I both got COVID. So my quarantine went on for a very, very long time, because then they quarantined me for quite a while after, because they still had cancer cells. And we will find out July 5th if they got all the cancer in my hand. I hope they did, because I don't want them to do any more to my hand. They can't re-radiate that spot. And so, there were I just lost my train of thought. My husband's trying to talk to me. I forgot my train of thought on that one. Well, he wants me to tell you I had blessings, that I had priesthood blessings, and that helped me to heal. But anyway, so that's my story of my hand trauma and what I've been going through. And I still am very tired and weak. They say that's going to last for a while, even though they just radiated my hand. I did have a reaction from the radiation of my right side swelling up, my leg, my glands, and my arm. And so the swelling has gone down now. We're waiting to hear what that was all about. It might just be a reaction to the radiation, I'm hoping. That's all.
Wow, Jerry,
Wow.
it's a crazy journey you've been on. It's just so lovely to see you here, hear
Yes.
your voice, and just be with you.
Oh, I got to tell you, one of the things that helped me get through it is doing the HerStory because I was home. We did that one last year in March. We did the whole month of March, and that was really empowering for me to feel like, okay, I'm still getting to do something. I'm doing something besides dealing with cancer. I'm accomplishing. I'm meeting people around the world. I'm meeting these women that, I mean, I've always felt like I pretty much got it easy compared to so many other people. I've never felt, devastated that this has happened to me. It's just something that happens. You take it one day at a time, and you face it and you deal with it, and then you overcome it. And doing the conferences that we've been doing and the HerStory stuff, it has made a huge difference in me feeling, like I'm useful. I ended up having the hardest part for me was having to give up my job because I had a doctor who probably I should have bucked it a lot harder, but he refused to let me go back as a flight attendant. So I lost my job, and that was not fun. So I ended up having to give up my home. But we're with family, and we're doing really well.
Well, their loss was our gain, Jerry.
Yes.
We did that 31-day event, ladies. For 31 days, Jerry, myself, and Ruth were
Wow.
online every single day. We had 15 women speaking, and
Wow.
we felt like we had gone around the world 10 times by the time we were finished. We were so jet-lagged.
And it was at least 8 hours a day. At least.
At least,
Yeah.
yes. Yes.
8 hours straight every single day. That was insane.
Yeah.
But so much fun. So much fun. We met
A lot
so
was
many
accomplished.
women.
Yeah.
Nice. That's
So,
great.
ladies, do you have any questions to ask Jerry?
Were you able to sleep through this?
No, I ended up having I had to sleep on the couch, and because I had a recliner couch, I had to
Right.
sleep with my arm up on a pillow,
Wow.
standing straight up in the air, because the only way I could tolerate the pain. For an entire year, I didn't get to. My poor husband, he'd come out and kiss me and say, "I sure miss you having you in bed with me." Like I couldn't lay flat. I am finally and now I'm at a point where that's not an issue anymore. And when we left our home, I thought, I'm investing in one of those recliner beds so that I can be in the bed with my husband.
Yeah.
So it was difficult. And now I sleep. I mean, I think maybe part of the problem with my being tired all the time, other than the radiation, is that my sleep pattern has always been very choppy.
Yeah.
But during those times, I was up most of the night.
Wow.
And that was really.
I know it's such a healing thing to have to sleep and.
Yes, and that weakens you so much when you don't sleep.
Absolutely, that's the whole problem there.
You can't heal.
Right.
When I was going through radiation, one of the things I loved about City of Hope is there was this really great open communication about what my needs would be, and on a daily basis. I went every day, 5 days a week for 6.5 weeks.
Wow.
And every day I had someone to talk to about it, and every day they wanted to know what level and how I was feeling and stuff. And I think that helped me so much, because then they realized, okay, if you're not sleeping, Jerry, you're not going to heal. And so I've always resisted taking like Tylenol PM or any kind of sleep aid. I've just never done it. And they were pretty much begging me, we really need you to sleep. So because I've never done it, I would take this homeopathic one, and then I would also take the Tylenol PM, and it would knock me out cold and like just knock me out solid. I thought, okay, I'm getting some sleep now.
Yeah. I can see that. I mean, healing, the only way to heal your body is to sleep. I mean, that's the whole key, right? So that's why I was wondering, because it's sounded so traumatic, and not just, I mean, physically, psychologically, everything that was going through your mind.
Yeah. I think more psychologically, it was, there was pain. But knowing that I wasn't going to be able to go back to my job, and this is how I'm going to be 70 in a couple of weeks.
Wow.
And the airline I work for had a contract that they had not had their contract for retirement yet. So when I left my job, I got no retirement. Had I worked until I turned 70, I would have had full retirement.
Wow.
And so I lost financially so much that it's like, okay, now what, But this is my birthday month. I do get my full Social Security.
Oh, that's good.
They celebrate 170, so you get Social Security.
There's sunshine at the end of the tunnel.
Yeah. When I called, because you have to set it up 3 months in advance, and so when I called down, I said, okay, I'm going to be 70 in May. And they're like, oh, this is perfect timing. You're going to get your money right on time. And I told, he goes, you're quite jubilant about this. So.
Well, that's good. That's good.
Yeah,
So, Jerry,
I just want
to
ask Jerry, sorry, Gertrude.
Go for it.
I just want to ask Jerry, you're a mom, you're a wife, you're a grandma, even a great-grandma?
Yes.
You not yet?
Oh, yes. Lots of great-grandchildren.
Okay.
I've got 108 grandpeople between the grandchildren and the great-grandchildren, and one more coming, so it'll be 109. One more
Are you starting a country? You're starting a country.
Just love it. It's a whole county, if not a country.
Wow.
Yeah.
What I wanted to ask Jerry is how, because you're one of the most positive people I know. You're one of the most strong. You're very strong, because we did the 31 days, and even you came through, I think some of the days in November, December, you showed up and you're positive. You've got this energy. What's the secret, girl?
Well, I think a big part of it for me came from my dad. My dad was he was a single dad of 6 kids until at one point he took on my mom's child by her second marriage and raised him as well. And my dad never complained about anything. I mean, we were dirt poor and didn't know it. We didn't know we were poor because we didn't feel poor. We had so much love from him, and he wasn't outwardly affectionate. That wasn't what it was. It was his countenance. His countenance was kind and understanding and gentle, and teaching us. He worked really hard to raise us, and he did put us through Catholic school. And I remember he had to work 4 jobs in order to pay for the school. And so I come from that frame of mind of being grateful for, and us 6 kids, literally none of us felt like we were deprived of anything, and I think that just because my dad was raised during the Depression, his family didn't have much. I mean, if I had one dress in my closet and one pair of shoes for church, that was all I would have. To me, that seemed normal. I didn't, I knew other people had lots of dresses, but for me, it didn't seem like it was a big deal that I didn't have a whole bunch. He taught us things that made us grateful for what we have and who we are. My mom left when I was 6 years old and decided she didn't want to be a mom anymore. And my dad made absolute sure that we saw her every week. He did not want us to feel like we didn't have a mom. And he sacrificed so much so that we would have. That's why we didn't feel like we were lacking. So I think that's where it came from. It came from my childhood of feeling secure and knowing that I was secure and not letting. Of course, things went wrong. Lots of things went wrong in my life, but if I really reflect on it, I think, oh my goodness, I've been really blessed, and how many kids don't get that. And then when my first husband passed away, same thing. I felt like, well, yeah, I lost my husband. 31 years we were married. He just all of a sudden one day was gone. And then I used to think, well, how many women don't get that love, and that my husband was a really good guy. And then when I met my current husband, same thing. I feel like, I almost felt a little guilty because there were so many women that don't have that. Right?
Where's Mr. Right?
I got two Mr. Rights in my life. And so
Wow.
that all is something that I live in. I live in that, knowing that I'm blessed and that that there's so many that are not. There's so many people that don't have what I have. So it helps.
Yeah, absolutely.
Wow, that's
Jerry,
awesome.
my question was going to be, you are the first woman who invested in the movement, in the HerStory movement.
Yes.
What was your inspiration? What did you see that you could share with other women about what we're trying to create with this movement?
I see a place for women. It's been a place for me during the last couple of years when we've been doing this. I'll never forget that first conference in Las Vegas. I had a book I had written 25 years earlier. I really wanted to publish that book. I was working with this wonderful lady, Linda Olson, who was helping me finish the book and get it ready for publishing. And I got to that conference and they wanted me to stand up on a stage and talk. And I was like, oh my goodness. And I remember standing up on the stage being pretty much mortified. But at the same time, I felt empowered. And the story I had chosen to talk about that day was the day my mom left and how I felt. And I remember I was standing on the stage, and if you ever look at the video, I had a black dress on, and my fingers were rubbing the dress between my fingers like a little kid with a security blanket. And I halfway through thought, oh my goodness, I've got the security blanket. I can let go of it now. And I remember letting go of that thing and then really opening up with my talk. And I thought, at the end of that, I thought, okay, I am supposed to be a public speaker. I did not think I did a great job.
You were one of the best speakers we had that day.
Well, really?
You were amazing. I couldn't believe you hadn't spoken in public.
I'd never spoken in public before. And so, especially about something so vulnerable, about my mom leaving and not wanting to be a mom. But it made me realize I can do I can do what I want to do. I wanted that book. I published the book, and it went international bestseller the first day. And so, and it's my response from the book has been really great. My goal, I mean, I don't have a business that I'm running. You know, I talk to families about my book is about taking care of someone with Alzheimer's, and I talk to people about it all the time. And I love getting to help families face it with joy, and that's what
It's 1 o'clock.
that's one of my that's what the book is about. Is about experiencing that challenge with joy, and so I feel like that this platform gives me a place I can talk about it, and I can be safe. I don't have to worry about being judged by someone else. And I see that so much with the women that come on here, that there's some horrific stories. And for me, who has never experienced that kind of tragedy in my life, my heart just goes so out to them. And knowing that with my little challenges, it's how much it's helped me, how much is it helping the woman next who has been abused and brutalized through her life and came out at the other end with a smile on her face and a drive to make things better for other women. That's why.
Yeah.
Don't ask me if I'm passionate about it. I'm very passionate about it.
Wonderful. There's our sister in the UK, Marilise. Good to see you.
How are you all doing?
Good.
All good. We're just reminiscing, catching up, talking about old times. It's like we're having a party.
Oh, so good. So good.
So introduce yourself, Marilise. Let everybody know where you are.
Yeah. Welcome. I am Marilise. I'm in London, and I'm the UK chairperson for HerStory. So my business is called Roar Coaching and Consulting. So very much, my personal story is very much, how Roar was created. So for me, it's all about helping people live their best life, and how that translates is on purpose, in your power, and with the courage to speak your truth. So so I'm really happy to be here with you. Yeah.
Can I put you on the spot and we go off script and have you as our next speaker?
We want to know all about you.
I hate it when you do this.
Surprise.
I mean, I am so relaxed. I've literally just finished a yoga class. So I'll just, if you're happy for me just to go with the flow and mix it up and mess it up in the middle, then why not? What is the sort of format today? How is this working? Is it am I just on?
So you can go and do your raw TED talk. It's up to you. If you've got a new message you want to share with the community, very, very free flow. We're just going totally off script this morning.
Right. I mean, I think I haven't got anything prepared, but I think it will be helpful to reflect maybe on some of the learnings after sort of 2 years, I think, where everybody has navigated very challenging times, and some of the lessons that I've learned. So is this me? Am I rocking and rolling, Gertrude?
Yes, you're it.
Okay, great. So hi everybody, and sure, this is wonderful to be back. I started my journey with HerStory bang in the middle of COVID. I discovered Gertrude on LinkedIn, and it was such a miraculous encounter, because not only was I introduced to this amazing community, I also was fortunate to work with Gertrude in preparation for my TEDx talk, which is now coming up to 1 year since I've done the talk. So that was a massive milestone for me, and a massive learning journey. So May last year was when I did my first TEDx. The title of the talk was "Have You Found Your Roar?" And it's very much based on my personal story of how I found my roar. And I'll give you a little snippet, but basically it all stems from the key message that abuse is abuse, full stop. It doesn't matter what kind of abuse it is, whether it's verbal, whether it's physical, whether it's emotional, whether it's sexual abuse. It really doesn't matter, because those invisible scars, they cut very, very deep. And how I learned that lesson, how that message was for me, was basically I had a very, very successful corporate career for 20 years. I've really, really done my thing. I got to executive level in my corporate career, but then I met my nemesis in the form of a boss who was a bully, and that was really when I discovered that this was not for me. I literally was brought to my knees by this person, and decided to walk away. And so that was about 4 years ago in 2017. And then I started Roar, my company. Needless to say, didn't know at the time. I had a lot of personal healing to do myself. And in my TEDx talk, which was part of that healing journey, I share how I first roared when I was a 12-year-old little girl, when I exposed the man who sexually abused my sister and myself. So it was a Saturday afternoon. I was 12 at the time. My sister was 8 years at the time. And I literally had this epiphany, and I realized what happened to me. And it was real shock, because I realized that my sister at the time was at his house. And so I literally dropped everything. I ran to his house, and I just really wanted to save my sister, because I knew she was in trouble. And when I got to his house, I was relieved, because obviously she was safe. They were in the kitchen. They were kind of making cakes and ice cream, and he was entertaining. And then I sort of, after what felt like ages, got the courage. I scraped that courage together, and I said to him, "We are going home now." And sort of looked him straight in the eye. And, he begged me, he really begged me to allow my sister to stay a little bit longer. And I just looked him in the eye again, and I just said, "We are going home now." And that was my very first roar, or at least the very first roar that I could remember, in terms of me stepping up and speaking out and speaking my truth. So roar is all about the courage to speak your truth, and the courage to speak up. So for me, that was when I realized, and this was only, last year, when I had made this connection about my purpose in life here is to really give victims a voice, and to help victims, turn into people that really thrive. So you become the victor of your life, and you get into that driving seat, and you're in control, and you determine your destiny. And so for me, it's that passion, that why, the thing that fire in my belly is to help as many people as I can, live their best life, live their greatest life. And that doesn't mean it's something in the future and it's far away. It's actually living your best day right here, right now, in this moment, every single day. And so that's my life's work. And I think what I've also discovered throughout this pandemic, apart from doing a massive amount of self-development work, I think for me what was the biggest lesson that I've learned is that actually, what my definition of success maybe before COVID was very much focused around work and success in your career and your calling and your vocation. But actually, that's only a small part of what a successful life is and a best life looks like. So I have really recognized and realized how important my health and my well-being is, especially my mental well-being. I think a lot of us have just gone into survival mode, just trying to navigate through COVID and all the sort of obstacles that were thrown in our way and all the uncertainty. So I really started prioritizing my mental well-being and physical well-being as well. Of course, my love and my relationships. So being very fortunate with a loving husband and two beautiful sons, but we grew so much closer together, and I've realized how important family is, to the point that we've actually now made the exciting decision to move back to our home country, South Africa. So all of that is happening in about, 12 to 18 months time. It's a bit of a transition period, but it's all happening. We've just bought a piece of land in South Africa. We're going to build our dream home. But all of that, I think, came to life because I realized how important that, connection with family is, and the ability to see my mum and dad more frequently, and the connection that they have with their grandchildren. So incredibly special. And then, of course, time and money freedom, which is also about doing what you love, but also having the decision and the choice to work wherever you want to, whenever you want to. And I think as entrepreneurs, I know a lot of women in this forum, in this community, are entrepreneurial women who run their own businesses. That's also a big reason why we do what we do, is because we want that time and that money freedom. And it's all about us, getting out of our own way and stepping up and stepping forward, because we all have infinite potential. We are infinite beings and we have God-given talents. And I think it's so important that we recognize just how miraculous each and every one of us are. So yeah, that's kind of my message in a nutshell. And I'd love to hear your thoughts and your questions and your comments if you have any for me.
So, Marilise, we are going to be having our first South Africa conference now. We're coming to Cape Town.
Absolutely, and we're going to be located in a little village called Jamestown. It is just outside Stellenbosch.
That is a beautiful town. I've been there before.
Yes.
So we were actually planning an Africa summit in Zimbabwe. We have a group of musicians coming out of New Jersey who are helping us build a music school in Zim. So all going well, it should happen maybe in August, September. So we might do a combined hop to South Africa while we're there. I don't know if you'll be there by then. But,
unfortunately, no, that's a little bit soon. I think we will probably, we're going to go in. Everything evolves around the boys. So the boys are 12 and 14. So we've got to transition them into different schools. So Andreas, my youngest, will have to start school in January in South Africa. So one of us will go with him, and then one of us will stay in the UK with Heinrich, my eldest, because he finishes his GCSEs in June next year. So we've still got a bit of a time lag to wait, and we've just got to figure it out as we go. But yeah, it's important for me that they have that sort of stability and that transition, so they can go to good schools. And so Heinrich will have to stay in the British curriculum because he's too old now to transition to the South African curriculum. So it's all very interesting, and we're just kind of embracing all the change. It's exciting and petrifying at the same time because we've lived in the UK for 18 years. We've got a really comfortable life here. But, you know, if I look at those sort of areas of my life in terms of how I define success now, the family, the love and the relationships quadrant became so important. And especially when I saw my parents with my kids in December when we went back home to South Africa, and how incredible that connection was, and how much both my parents and the kids thrived on being together. And I just wanted them to have more of that. And you know, parents are not getting younger, and we're very lucky to have I have both my parents, and they're still healthy. So I'm very much now focused on the next chapter, which is very much time and quality time with them and the family.
I love that. That's the reason why I'm moving to Melbourne.
Yeah.
I brought up my kids in New Zealand for 21 years without my parents. Now both my parents have died and they never got to know their grandchildren. And I want my little grandson to have a hands-on grandmother, so I can so relate to that need to go back to family.
Absolutely. Gertrude. And I think it's so I think because we've always been so lucky to travel freely, and of course COVID it meant that for almost 3 years we couldn't see our families. And I think we're just that longing became so much. It became almost like it hurt so much, because you can't have that connection on Zoom or on you know, a screen. It's just not the same.
Yeah, I can so relate. I've been away from Melbourne for not even 2 weeks, it's 10 days. My little grandson has a mouthful of teeth. He's crawling. And I'm like, when did this happen? I should be there. So,
yes. And this is the thing, 100%, because the boys were literally like little toddlers, not toddlers, but they were young kids, like they were tiny. And then the next time my mum and dad saw them, they were literally taller than them.
yes.
I remember the first time Heinrich gave my mum a hug, my mum went like, ouch, because he hugged her so hard. And obviously she's older and a little bit more fragile. So he obviously felt really bad. But I mean, he was just so happy to see her.
You know, Marilise, that's a situation we're in. When we ended up leaving our home, we went and lived with one of the boys and his family. They have 10 children. Most of them are out of the home now, but they have a 4-year-old that is just such a joy in my heart. I call him my joy boy because
so cute. I love that.
I spend a lot of time with him. Mom is working out of town now, so when mom's out of town working, I get to have him. And even when she's home, there's just so much interaction. And I'm teaching him sign language, and he's just there's this mutual admiration that is just so, like, we went to the Tulip Festival this week, and he kept, if I wasn't holding his hand, or he was holding his mom's hand, he kept looking around to make sure I was still there, and he'd grab a hold of my hand. And I just thought, oh, this is just pure joy. So your parents are going to feel that same thing. And that way with most of my grandchildren, I'm that way with, but it's so fun every day wake up and see this little smiling face come down those stairs.
Yeah, I do believe it's priceless. And I think what my youngest Andreas was very adamant to you know, when we were in South Africa in December, he was like, he wants to see them all the time. He doesn't just want to see them once a year. And so
Nice.
he was also a big driver for our decision. I mean, we made the decision together as a family because the boys are a bit older now. And like, it's not like we have to consult them in the decision. I mean, I know it's ultimately my decision and Heine's decision, but it's that sort of, we're in a good place with them where we can actually involve them in the decisions, and we can actually, you know, we're actually designing our home at the moment that we're going to build, and you know, they are taking part in the plans and designing their rooms, and you know, it's just so exciting, and I feel so lucky that we're able to do it. But of course, you know, and this is the thing, it's that having that sort of knowing and that trust and that belief, you know, that things are going to be absolutely wonderful. And you know, because if you think too much about, you know, because the political situation in South Africa, and there's so many problems, you know, if you think about Africa and the continent, and you know, people say weird things when I speak to them. It's like, why would you want to go back to South Africa? You know, you're living in the UK. I'm like, we've got a freaking war on our doorstep. You know, it's like, you know, and it's at the end of the day, if you really look at your life holistically and those sort of 4 quadrants that I've described, you know, it's like you really begin to rebalance out what's important. And that's been such a helpful learning for me in terms of how I define that success in life.
Yeah, that's amazing. That's great. Very exciting.
Very good.
So,
I'm very excited for your parents too.
Yeah, I think they are gonna. I mean, my dad. I know my dad's gonna drive me nuts. just because he's just a very. I mean, he's actually so much like me. He's actually a little bit of a mirror for me sometimes. But yeah, no, we're gonna absolutely love it. I know it's going to be amazing. Thank you.
yeah, I was involved in a interview with Terry this morning. She was interviewing a lady who has written a book called, can you remember, Terry, How to Parent Your Parents?
Yes. And adding laughing instead of crying.
Yeah, Charlotte is going to be speaking tomorrow.
Amazing.
And she really reminded us, I mean, Terry reminded me of her relationship with her mom. I mean, if you look at the two of them, they're like sisters. I've seen pictures of Terry's mom. They're together all the time. And Charlotte's book is called You Have to Laugh to Keep from Crying. How to Parent Your Parents is the title of her book.
I definitely need that book.
I will connect you with Charlotte.
Brilliant.
But Terry was sharing something in the interview, how close she is to her mother, that her mother is almost like, you'd say it, Terry. Why am I talking on your behalf?
I don't know. I started out writing about my mother to begin with, about our relationship, simply because at the age of 10, I have 2 brothers and I'm smack dab in the middle. I have no biological sisters. And so I started writing about, it's not fair. Life is not fair. They have each other, and I could listen to them at night, at the end of the night, and they're in there whispering and talking things. And I'm in another room like, what are they talking about? We've been together all day. What do they have to talk about? And so my father and my mother were not together. And so I just told her it wasn't fair and that I needed a sister. And that at that point, she says, I will be your sister always. And my brothers look like my father, and I look like my mother. I mean, spitting image. People would see us. If we had this one minister at church, he would call me Irma, which is my mother's name, and call her Terry, because we look so much alike. And even sometimes on the phone when I'm over there, she's 92 and I'm 72. We're exactly 20 years apart. And we have so many ways alike. But she's going through early signs, and the doctor hasn't said it's dementia, but having worked in a facility, I know that that's what it's leading to. Her short-term memory is fading. And so we talked about things that we can do, and making sure that they're aware that you love them. Actually, I was supposed to be interviewing Charlotte, but I was telling her my story after she finished with hers, and told her about how she just called back to my remembrance those things that I should be doing, because sometimes I can, I do a little tough love sometimes. And I have to catch myself, because in her condition, I'm not supposed to be doing that, and I know better. But it was just fascinating to me today that we were doing that as part of our Crossroads podcast, where we're talking to women 50 and older. And like I said, I'm 72. So, and to be in that role at this age, and just remembering she did it for me, why can't I do it for her?
Amazing.
Yeah.
I have to say, Terry, I sort of jumped onto Facebook last night just for a little while, and I saw you speak, and I was when you said you're 72, I'm like, no, that is not possible.
No, I know.
That is just not possible. I just honestly, I am amazing. It's like I want to be like you when I'm 72.
Thank you. And the best way to be that way is make sure you make time for yourself.
Yeah.
Make sure you take care of yourself.
Yes.
Just like this morning, I went and played golf for the first time in the season, and I am in Indiana, so it was quite chilly, but we survived. I've been here all my life, so but you do have to make time for yourself and stay healthy, and that is important in the caregiving aspect too. I have people that I call my babysitters, and when I need to go somewhere, I'll say, Bobby's going to make sure that she gets to church. You guys make sure she gets home, make sure she gets her breakfast before you drop her off, and they walk her to the stairs. She's in good health. In fact, she took her walker to the attic the other week. And I'm like, why are we taking this? I don't need it. I don't need it. You keep hollering about this walker and this cane. I don't need it. So I'm just going to just go with it.
Amazing. No, that is wonderful. Wonderful. And it starts with a very, very strong mind as well, doesn't it?
Yes, it does.
Sounds like your book and my book could be sisters.
And she taught me how to be strong and how to be bold and ask for what I want. And that's what I've been doing all my life.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
Fantastic.
It's so nice that you have that since you're such a young age, being that close to your mom. I miss that because my mom left, but luckily for me, I did have sisters, and so I get to have that sisterhood.
Yeah, I get it too. I mean, my mom moved to New York City as an actress and just sort of left us. And at that point, my parents had separated, and I decided that I was going to be on my own. And I was 14 going on 15. So yeah, I was very young. So I got my own apartment because I didn't want to be with my father, and I didn't want to move right to New York City. And it came as a real big shocker to all of us that my mom was just taking off to New York for her career. So yeah, I started living on my own, and I was very young. I was in grade 10. So you're really, when I look back at it, if my son had said to me that he was going to leave home at that age, I would have boarded up the doors. I wouldn't have let him go. I don't know how, when I look back at it, I survived. It actually made me very strong because I ended up selling my artwork, and I didn't get any sleep. I was out in clubs all night doing lights for bands, and I started being very, very creative. I started selling my artwork to survive, and plus working part-time and doing some correspondence and going to school, attending school. I was exhausted, but I was having a lot of fun.
Well, that's amazing. That's a lot for a kid.
It was a lot.
When I prioritize your education and your
I was
You're
very organized. I'm very organized. I was and I am very organized in time allotments. This is the time I'll do this, I'll do this, I'll do this. I mean,
We
and
could
you
all
find
learn some
yourself,
things from
the
you.
day goes by so fast. It's
Yeah.
like, oh my God, but yeah, I'm very organized that way. Thank God. I don't think I would have survived if I hadn't, organized my life, I think.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
My husband was out on his own at age 12.
Whoa.
And
Oh,
so,
really?
yeah, his mom left when he was 9, and he was helping raise his two younger siblings, and then his dad was killed in an accident, and mom came and took the 2 younger kids and left him, and he had to. So I know how powerful those kind of stories are when you have to be on your own. You have to figure it out. You're wondering how am I going to do this? And he too is quite organized. So
Yeah, you become
he found a way.
self-sufficient. You're the only one. I remember my first apartment, and I remember the light was on, and I got into bed, and I remember lying down and closing my eyes, and then I was like, there's something wrong. And then I thought, oh, I forgot to turn the light off, and I couldn't yell at anybody to say, hey, turn the light off. And it was the greatest feeling to say, hey, you know what? If I don't turn it off, it's not going off. And it made me realize I am now responsible for everything I'm doing, and there's nobody's going to be there to help me. So it gives you a sense of really a lot of strength that, wow, I got to turn the light off,
We have some teenagers at our house could certainly learn some things from you.
That's funny.
Oh, wow. This has been fun, Mary Lise. You see what happens when you show up unexpectedly?
You know what? But I'm not even that surprised.
You shouldn't be, Marlies.
I wish. I mean, this is the thing, I was like, someone's asked me the other day, "You ready?" I'm like, I'm born ready.
I'm born ready, right? I'm ready
really.
always. But give
not
me my
really.
half hour in the morning.
Yeah.
I think it's I think also Gertrude, thanks to you, for all the coaching, because I think I've observed you a lot over the last year and a half since we've met and became friends, and I always admire how you show up and you tell the story, and you're absolutely just an amazing storyteller, and you engage us, from the get-go, and every time it's a different story, and so I think it's an amazing skill. It's an amazing talent that you have.
I think we all just need to honor our stories, Mary Lise.
Yeah.
We all have them. We all have them. I've just learned I love my stories. I love to share them.
And you're incredible at it.
During this COVID journey, so I keep waking up at 2:00 in the morning. I'm having these weird lucid dreams. And okay, I might as well use this time, research. So the first thing I did is I couldn't eat. I felt like my throat had razor blades. I couldn't swallow anything. I was in so much pain.
Ouch.
But the only thing I could eat is a fruit called a feijoa. I don't know if you guys know feijoas.
No, never heard of it.
Well, I saw your post earlier today, so I now know what it is.
Yes, it's like a guava. They're actually called pineapple guavas. But with guavas, you can eat the skin. They're very bitter. The skin is very bitter, but the inside is soft, and it just goes down your throat. And I can taste them. It's the only thing I can taste right now.
Oh, wow.
And when I moved out of the house, my stepson got ill first, and then my stepdaughter. And I thought, I better get out of the house. I don't want to get this thing. My son was graduating day before yesterday, and I wanted to be there for his graduation.
Mm-hmm.
So I went and stayed at a friend's house, and he had a feijoa tree, and there were just feijoas rotting everywhere. I collected like 6 boxes of feijoas.
Wow. Can you freeze them?
You can freeze them. You can bake with them. You can do so many things. But what happened is I have this craving for them. It's very, very weird. It's like the feeling I had when I was pregnant with my kids. You know how you you crave for a certain food type.
Right.
That's what it feels like.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Wow.
And so I've been eating them for breakfast, lunch, dinner. It's the only thing I'm eating. And then when I started researching, they are a superfood. They're packed with vitamin C's. They have everything
Amazing.
That
antioxidant.
happens. That
I
happens.
was just blown away at the quality of this fruit and why my body was just craving to eat them and still is. And then last night, I woke up in this weird dream. Lucid dreaming is when you're aware that you're dreaming. It's like you're in the dream, but you're outside of it as well. And I just started researching lucid dreaming. And there's these people in this dream. I don't know where these people are coming from. But the detail of the characters and the stories, it's so delicious. I had
It's
to
fun.
keep it.
It's fun to do that. Yeah, you can bring in characters and things into your.
And you can
into your,
end the dream as well. You can
Yes.
decide how the dream is going to end.
Wow.
And so I started
Wow.
researching lucid dreaming at 3:00 in the morning last night.
Yeah.
And you can use it for decision making. You can actually go into lucid dream state
Yeah.
if you're trying to figure something out. And I realized that I've been doing this all my life. So you remember how I said that
yeah.
most of my knowledge, my knowings come through my dreams. I've been doing it deliberately and I didn't even know until now.
Interesting.
Amazing. Oh my goodness, Gertrude, you're going to have to teach us all how to do it.
I do
it as well. I started doing it as well because during COVID with napping all the time and taking all these naps, I started lying down more just to meditate, giving myself something to do was to lie down and just close my eyes. And then even if I wasn't tired, creating a dream in my head, bringing in characters like you're saying, Gertrude. It is quite amazing what your mind can manifest and how you can bring in strength from all different areas and just bring it into your head, and then it becomes part of you. It's quite amazing. I know about lucid dreams just from that movie Vanilla Sky with with Tom Cruise and Cameron Diaz. The whole idea of that, I had thought of that about a month or two ago when I was talking to a friend, and I said, yeah, I just lie there and start the dream and start the characters and bring them in, and it's quite empowering to do it. It's just like you just use your imagination to just as you lie there, you just and like Gertrude said, sometimes the characters, you're like, who's that? Like, where'd that like you don't know, and your imagination will bring people, and before you know it, you're relaxed to the point where you don't know what's going to happen, and then you can make it happen, and then you can come out and go in. It's fascinating what you can do.
Can I share a story about one of those dreams as well? When my late husband passed away, I had already been having dreams like this for years. And I mean, people would ask me, would you dream about, because I would have a dream someone's pregnant and then tell them they're pregnant, and then they find out later they are pregnant. I just don't know how that happened, but that was something that I had the ability of. And
you're dangerous, Jerry. We don't want to get pregnant. No.
I had to quit having those dreams because I have so many grandkids. Anyway, when he passed away, I didn't have a dream the whole week about him, and I just felt that was because he was training for a marathon and just laid down the side of the road and passed away. And he was 50 years old, completely unexpected. So he passed away on Saturday, and on Thursday we had his funeral. And I was bothered that I wasn't having dreams about him all week. And I thought, why am I not dreaming about him yet? I need to be dreaming about him because I didn't know what happened. And so I didn't. We had the funeral on Thursday, and Thursday night I had my first dream. And they were I started keeping a journal about them because they were such interesting dreams, and they told me,
Wow.
they answered questions for me. And so fast forward for about 3 years later, we had bought a house. It was being built, and he passed away while it was being built. It was his dream home, and I never did put window coverings on. And this one's one of my favorite dreams. So this one night, I was thinking that day, I need to get window coverings for this. I had, those paper ones that you can buy.
Right.
I had those on for like maybe 2.5, 3 years. So in my dream, Steve and I went to Home Depot, and we measured the windows and went to Home Depot and bought the blinds and brought them home and installed them. And I thought, okay. And I woke up in the morning. I thought, okay, and I can control the dreams pretty well. So I got up in the morning and I thought, okay, I'm supposed to do this today. I got the measuring tape out, and the measurements of the windows were exactly the same as in the dream.
Wow.
Which every single window that I measured was the same as in the dream, and I had never measured them before. So
that's incredible.
That's one of my favorite ones, because it's just like, how did that happen? I just
Wow.
Did I get up? Did I
Amazing.
get up in the middle of the night and measure them?
Measure? No.
I don't think so. I'm not a sleepwalker, but I don't know how I knew those measurements.
Wow.
And I mean, there's I could write just a book about the dreams that I've had.
Absolutely. You should.
Some really interesting dreams, especially answers to. I never did find out why he died. I have my own theory. It's the theory according to Jerry, but it doesn't mean I'm right. It just means that's what I think.
What's your theory, Jerry?
Well, the day before he passed, he was training for a marathon. He had been training for 1.5 years, and he was very excited. He was going to run the Walt Disney Marathon. I'd never been to Florida. We were very excited about going. It was going to be coming up. And the day before, he came in and he said, I can't believe how good that run makes me feel. He goes, tomorrow I'm going to increase my run so I can work up to a 4. He was 50. He just wanted to finish the marathon so that I can work up to a 4-hour marathon. Well, at that point, he was running 8.5 miles in 1.5 hours. And the next day, he ran 8 miles in 1 hour. So my theory is that he overdid his heart. He hit a block wall and decided to push past it, and just overdid his heart. The coroner told me he died of heart disease that he had, and they never did an examination on him. They just, okay, this 50-year-old man that died, he must have had heart disease. But I never believed it. And so I think this is, I don't know, I believe he just, that day, he pushed too far.
Yeah.
You can push too far. And I think that's what happened, and I also have a very, very strong belief that the Lord needed him home. And so he went home, and I was comfortable with that. And I think that's helped me a lot through the process of grieving, is knowing that he's in a really good place and that he had finished his work here on earth and that he's with the Lord. And so
that's beautiful, Jerry.
Yeah.
That is beautiful. Yeah, the human mind is amazing. We don't stop processing when we sleep. Our mind keeps trying to find the solutions for us. What's happened with me over the years is I use the persona of my grandmother as the person who brings the wisdom to me. So if I'm trying to figure something out, she pops up in my dreams. And she was giving these cryptic, weird messages that mean absolutely nothing at 2:00 in the morning. But when I wake up in the morning, it's like, oh, I've got it. I know what it means. Like when I created my first business in New Zealand, I was painting fabric, 3-meter pieces of fabric, huge chunks of fabric. And I tried to sell my fabric all over Wellington. Nobody would buy it. They would look at it and say, oh, it's beautiful, but what will I do with it? Nobody sews here. And then one night I had this dream. My grandmother comes and she is angry. She has her hands on her shoulders, on her hips, and she was speaking in English. She hated English. That was the other thing. Like, fluent English. And she says, Gertrude, if you have a problem, just break it up into small pieces. It was like, come on, don't you get it? Just break it up into small pieces.
Oh, wow.
You know, it's the principle that I apply to everything I do in business now. If I'm trying to raise $1 million, I chunk it down into small pieces. If I can get, like right now, I'm trying to raise $1 million for the Her Story movement, and we're aiming to get 20 people at $50,000. That's $1 million. If we get 40 at 25, that's $1 million. If we get 100 at 10,000, that's $1 million. So it's just become a principle that I apply to everything. And so my grandmother is the source of wisdom. I believe it when the dream, if she shows up in the dream, it's like, okay, that's what I have to do. I don't even question it anymore.
You
That's
know, it's
amazing,
it's
Gertrude.
it's so interesting, Gertrude, your connection with your grandmother, because I have the same thing with mine. And it's very funny because well, I was very, very close with my grandmother as well. And because my mother was an actress, and I found that my grandmother was really my mother, but she passed away when I was 12. So I did have dreams where she would come and talk to me. And one of the things that happened when she was alive was we went grocery shopping one day, and you know those machines that have the toys and bubble gum. She gave me a quarter, and I put it in, and I think it was a dime or a nickel, not a quarter, but I put the money in, and the machine exploded, and everything went on the floor with one. I think it was a dime. So I mean, it completely emptied, and I still have the little things that came out of the machine, like miniature books and all these cute little toys. And I was stuffing my pockets with these things. But later, after she died, now every day when I go for a walk, quite often I find a dime, and I know that I'm on the right track because I'll even cross the street, get to the other side, and when I get there, you know, I'll see in, you know, on the curb a dime, and it happens all the time. It happens not every day, but most days, and sometimes days where I just feel like giving up. And then I look down and there's a dime, and I'm like, okay, Grandma, I'm on the right path. I get it. And
Oh, I love that.
it is, I always feel that connection, and I do the same thing before I go to sleep. I talk to her, and get strength from that connection. It's something that never goes away, I think, you know, ever, because she's there, you know. It's you know, infinity, like it's there.
They are here with us. They are
Yeah, they're
here.
here, so it's like it's you know, I don't know how to explain
We
it.
just can't experience them in the physical world.
Yeah, yeah.
Ruth, you remember when Dad died? So my dad died of a sudden heart attack when I was in
Yeah.
Zimbabwe, and I was rushing Mom to hospital when this happened. Ruth and I, and we called Dad and said, "Dad, please come to the hospital." He said, "I'm on my way." And as Mom's being rushed into the emergency, my cell phone rang, and there's a woman on my dad's phone saying, "There's a man here who's collapsed."
Hmm.
My dad died on the way to the hospital. And
Oh.
I remember the day after his funeral, I was in a really bad place. And I went to sleep and I said, "Dad, why did you do this to me? Why did you die on my watch?" Because I hadn't been home for about 3 years. And this was the first time in 3 years I got to spend, what was it, Ruth, 5 weeks with my parents. It was just me,
Yes.
Ruth, and my parents. And we cooked for them every single day. We cared for them for 5 weeks, not knowing that was the last time.
Hmm.
And so in this dream, I was sitting at his grave, and he came behind me, he touched my shoulder, and he sat next to me. And he said, "Of all of my 5 kids, I knew you could handle this. And I knew your mom would be okay.
Wow.
And this was the right time for me to go.
Wow.
You're going to be fine." And that dream just gave me back my power and my strength to look after mom as best I could. And she lasted another almost 2 years, right, Ruth?
Yeah, 2 years.
Mom died in 2020. This happened in 2018.
Sure.
Yeah.
Wow.
Well, this is an interesting twist of events. You see, this is what I love about this group of
Here we
women.
are talking about dreams. It's fascinating. Fascinating.
So the other thing about my COVID journey, I've had so many people inboxing me, giving me advice. I've got like 1,000 messages. I just love my life from all over the world with remedies and do this and do this. And from Zimbabwe, I had about 10 people who told me to use onions.
Wow.
That I would boil onions and inhale the onion fumes. And my grandmother used to do it when I used to have colds. So that made sense. But then another woman said, wrap your feet in onions and wear 2 pairs of socks. So I doubled it and I put I put onions on my soles of my feet and plastic. So I've got my feet wrapped up in plastic and I've worn 2 pairs of socks.
And I thought it was potatoes you did that with.
No, you can do it with potatoes and onions and garlic. Those 3 things.
And then you can throw it into a soup.
Detoxifiers. They pull the toxins out the bottom of your feet.
Exactly. Yeah, so I feel you can hear my energy levels are so high this
morning.
It's
good. Yeah. Thanks to that recipe.
I just have a horrible smelling bed, but
it probably smells quite bad.
That's funny.
And these are the things you do to try and recover from this damn illness.
Is this your first time getting COVID?
It's the first time.
Oh,
I take it you've had it several times, Jerry.
No, just once. But I know people have had it more than once, but I had mine back in 2020. So, but wow. Yeah, Joseph and I are really into detoxing. And I have a machine that will do that same thing. It will pull because the bottom of our feet have 2,000 pores. And when you detoxify through the pores in your feet, they're all connected to the organs, and you can cleanse and ours is in storage. It's driving me crazy. I'm thinking seriously about driving to St. George and unloading the whole thing. So, because Joseph constantly is asking me, I wish we had our detox machine. I'm like, yeah, you're right. We need to go get it. But
yeah,
it's amazing to be able to detox, and it even cleans out your lymphatic system, which is something they're saying I need right now. So we might just have to go up there and do that.
Yeah, that sounds like something you need to go and get, Jerry.
Yeah.
And then we'll all write a book on our COVID stories, ladies. Ruth, I know you as well. What was your experience?
Yeah. I don't even know if I've had it. I don't know. I don't even know. I felt sick in December, but not like in the lungs. I don't know. If maybe
Sarah,
it was
you
just
will
a flu.
you will know. No, you will know because it's different to any other flu.
Yes.
I was the same. I didn't kind of believe that it actually existed because I never got it, and then I got it in November last year, and it's so different to anything you've ever had.
Were some of the symptoms that you were hungry, your body was hungry, and so you had more of an appetite than a flu?
No, you don't even want to eat.
No.
You don't even want to eat.
But the thing is, you can't taste. You can't taste it.
I had no taste. I couldn't smell.
I had the lightest
like
version.
There's metal.
Yeah.
Like there's a metallic feeling in your mouth.
Yes.
So that's why I'm saying the only thing I can taste are these damn feijoas. Everything else I'm eating just feels like metal.
Yeah.
Ooh.
No, I don't know if I've had it. I don't know because I had a flu that in December, but I don't, and I was just sleeping all the time and feeling really, really out of whack. But I don't know if it was COVID. I don't know.
Now, when Joseph and I both got it at the same time, luckily I had a really mild version. I never lost taste. I never had the fever. It felt like I had a cold, and I had a migraine, a really bad migraine.
Oh.
But him, it took took its toll on him. He had the fever. He lost his will to eat. I had to force him to eat, and he was sick for a long time. But then when he got over it, we both got retested. His was gone. I was positive for 7 weeks. I had no symptoms at all, but I was positive for 7 weeks. And I thought, this is not fair.
Oh.
I think for me personally, I had this sort of very shortness of breath the whole time, and especially with my training schedule, because I train quite hard in the gym. The first say 4 weeks going back to the gym was like I couldn't actually breathe deep enough. Like it was almost like my breath kind of stopped here in my chest.
Yes.
I couldn't actually breathe properly. It was such a weird feeling. Yeah.
And one of the things that happened yesterday is I got this boost of energy, right?
Yeah.
I'm like, I can clean the damn house. So my house is built on 3 levels. I get out the vacuum cleaner and I'm going. I got to level 2 and then I started coughing.
Oh no.
And I couldn't stop coughing after that. And when I came to bed, it was like boom, like somebody hit me with a hammer. I had to sleep the whole afternoon. Then I wake up at 2 o'clock in the morning with these damn lucid dreams.
It's exactly what happens, Gertrude. You get these spurts of energy. So I had COVID, but I continued working, and I would literally be like fired up, and I would work, and I'll get to 2 o'clock, and I'll just crash and burn, and I'll just have to sleep the rest of the afternoon. And it's like you just don't know when you're going to feel tired, but you have these bursts of energy in between.
Wow.
I've had that as well. Yeah.
I've actually been, my doctor, I called my GP and he warned me not to do too much. He said there's a condition called long COVID.
Yes.
Where if you overexert your body, you develop inflammation in your muscles, and then the chronic fatigue will set in. So you're actually supposed to just rest.
Yes.
So the house is not getting cleaned. It's gonna have to wait. But,
good. Very good.
oh
I'm going to love and leave you.
Yeah, I was going to say the same thing, and now I feel so bad, and I have to leave as well.
It was wonderful having you here, ladies. Marylise, always
Thank you
good
for
to
coming.
see
It's
you.
so good. I'm so pleased, Gertrude, that you feel better. It's wonderful. And yes, always a pleasure. It's so good to see you all. Always. I mean, my heart feels full now. It's like I have my little fix.
I know. I feel that way too. I'm so lucky to be here talking to all you ladies. It's so it makes you feel like, oh, it's like meeting with the girls. It's so nice. I could cry.
Nice.
It is. It's very nice.
You're one of the tribe now. We're not letting you go.
No, I'm not going anywhere.
Bye, Marylise.
Bye, Marylise.
Love everybody.
Thank you, Marylise.
Bye. I'll see you tomorrow.
Bye.
Bye. I can check out. Bye. Bye.
Bye, Sarah.
Bye, Sarah.
Right. So let's
And
continue.
I also have to
That was
go.
wonderful. Oh, Ruth's tired.
Ruth has to go. All right,
Yeah.
Ruth. Get
I'm
some
so
sleep.
tired.
See you tomorrow.
See you tomorrow.
Yes.
Love you.
Jerry, so great
Bye.
seeing you, my friend.
Say it again.
Jerry, it was so good to see you.
Oh, it's good to see you too. Thank you.
Yeah. I'll see you tomorrow.
Okay.
Bye, Ruth.
Bye.
All right,
Terry, you've got all the bios?
I
Or Gertrude
don't
is
think
here now?
so. I think I received a bad link.
So the link isn't working?
I sent you an email to ask you if this is the correct link from my email because I don't have anything on the program. Sherry's the only.
I'm going to email to both you and Jerry because I am burning out with the talking. I'm emailing both the bios and we'll split them between the two of you.
Okay, I have the program, so
who's next on the program? I'll start with that.
Okay, it is Sherry. I have her bio.
All right, so you can read that one and I'll cue the video and I'll send the rest.
Okay, great.
And I don't
Right.
see anything.
I'm going to email you, Jerry.
Okay.
Okay. Alrighty. Then I will start. We will resume her story circle. We've had a very, very in-depth with the panel. And we found out some things. Believe it or not, all of us have never been on at the same time before. I am relatively new, and Sarah is new. And so it was good meeting all of the ladies. So we will start with our next bio, which is Sherry Luo. Sherry is a senior product manager at LinkedIn, where she directs end-to-end product life cycles by leading cross-functional teams of software engineers, UX designers, and data scientists. She builds social education tech products that help millions of people learn new skills to reach career opportunities. And that is exactly where I am today, learning new skills in hopes of utilizing those. And I have been with HerStory. So I introduce to you Sherry, and she will tell us her wonderful story. Okay. Okay, Gertrude's looking for that. While she's doing that, I'll tell you a little bit more about Sherry, and then Gertrude will come in. Sherry actively uses her platform and voice to help others break into the technology industry and bring representation.
Hi, everyone. I'm so excited to be here. My name is Sherry Liu. I'm based in San Francisco, California, and I'm 26 years old. So I grew up on the East Coast in New York, and I studied computer science in my undergraduate degree. I became a product manager immediately after school, where now I work at LinkedIn. During my time working at LinkedIn as a product manager, I've worked across several business lines. I've worked on LinkedIn notifications, and now currently I'm on LinkedIn Learning, our edtech platform. Right now, I'm a senior product manager at LinkedIn, where I help people learn new skills to land their dream jobs. And I lead teams of engineers, designers, marketers, sales, very cross-functionally, to create a product from start to finish, basically helping through the brainstorm process, working with engineers to figure out how to build it, working with designers on what exactly it'll look like, how will it look and feel on an app, and what is the go-to-market strategy, and make sure that when we launch and release a new product feature, that people know how to use it. And specifically, it's super meaningful for me to work on LinkedIn Learning, which is our educational technology platform. So people can watch videos, read related articles, and upskills so they can land their dream job, get a promotion, and move up in their careers. Most recently, outside of work, something that I've been working on is empowering people on a global scale through TikTok. So during the pandemic in June of 2020, it was locked down in California, and I was scrolling on TikTok and really watching the videos, finding a lot of entertainment, but also a lot of educational value. And at this time, I think TikTok was seen, and is still sometimes seen, as an entertainment app. People go to TikTok to get that serotonin boost, to watch funny videos, to watch cat videos, dancing videos. But I really saw an opportunity to use TikTok and educate more people about product management and breaking into technology. It didn't start out that way, though. When I first started on TikTok, I experimented with the type of video content that I was creating in the app. And so I also released a couple of embarrassing dance videos at first. And it was when I started releasing videos of more educational content, I'm like, oh, there's something here. So I think the first video that really took off for me was when I recorded a video on my favorite undergraduate computer science classes at Columbia University. I rated the classes 1 to 10 in how useful they are in working in tech today. So for example, I was like, oh, my artificial intelligence class, computer science class, that was an 8 out of 10 class. The vocabulary is super useful for my role today, working in technology. My computer science theory class, that was like a 2 out of 10. It was a very interesting subject, but not super applicable to what I do today. And so when I released this video, I saw so many more people commenting, sharing, liking, watching the video as compared to my previous dancing videos. And I was like, there really is something here. People enjoy learning on TikTok. And I proceeded to create more videos, not only about computer science in my undergraduate degree, but also on how to break into technology and what it means to be a woman in tech, and how to be an ally to women in tech. And so that has been my niche, and I've definitely been continuing to experiment with the videos I've created. I think it's what I've done over the last 2 years is really break down the wall between how people see the professional world, because previously I think people have an idea, specifically college students and high school students have an idea of what they want to do after they graduate and enter into the real world. But many times people don't have access to the network, or really a full understanding of what it really means to work in the real world. So my goal is to make technology, working in tech, and being a woman in tech more accessible to people, especially students who may not have the resources available to completely understand the full picture of what the real world looks like when they leave school. Over the last 2 years, I've gained an audience on TikTok. I call it my TikTok community now, of over 100,000 followers, which is pretty crazy, because I think the idea of speaking to a room full of 1,000 people makes me nervous. And the fact that I now have a platform of 100,000 people who find value in my content and my educational videos is really amazing. On top of that, I think 100,000 people watching these educational videos it's like an unfathomable number for me right now. 100,000 seems like, wow, what a great audience, but that's it's still a number. But even more than that, I have people who direct message me on Instagram, and in many other ways contact me on my email, telling me how my content has helped them decide on a new major, decide to major in computer science, help them with landing an internship or a job. So I think hearing about that impact really makes it very tangible and real, to know how my content is helping real people reach real outcomes. So I think that's been an amazing thing so far.
Wow. What an amazing journey you've been on. It always fascinates me when I meet people who manage to hack these platforms. You're right. A lot of us think that TikTok is really a frivolous platform where little children are dancing, or you can only succeed on TikTok if you're doing something in that direction. And you've literally proved that that's not the case. Now, how do you keep your community engaged? How often are you posting to get a following that big?
Yeah, when I first started out, I was posting once a week, and at that point, the growth of my community was pretty slow but stable. And from all the experimentations that I've done, it's really, to grow quickly, you have to post multiple times a day, upwards of 3 times a day, every day. And the biggest thing is that consistency is key. I think a lot of the professional creators that I've spoken to, people who are lawyers on TikTok, investment bankers on TikTok, women in tech on TikTok. Really, the consistency over time is the most important part. It's really hard to grow an audience if you post one video here, another video 3 weeks later, and that consistency isn't there. Yeah.
So you have to be consistent. Now, how do you come up with the content that you're posting? What is the best way for somebody to plan their content diary?
Totally. It's a content strategy is what I like to call it. And really it's a mix of a few different factors. The biggest overarching theme is being in constant communication with your community, with your audience, the people who are watching your videos. They're the inspiration because they'll leave questions in the comments, suggestions of topics that you should cover for your next videos. So I think it's a lot of creators I've seen end up distancing themselves from their communities and don't really respond to comments. But I think the most successful creators out there are the ones who are very in tune with what their followership wants to see and being able to answer their questions through the comments. There's also a Q&A feature that TikTok has, and being very receptive to feedback and ideas from their entire community.
So what you're basically saying is you have to listen to what your community is saying. That way you're going to deliver appropriate content that really answers their pain, answers their questions, correct?
Absolutely. And I think this is how my professional background kind of ties into what I've been doing on TikTok. As a product manager, when I create features to launch, the whole premise of the feature that I'm creating is to solve a pain point and to help people make their lives easier, help them land their jobs, and really understanding what people's, what their questions are, what their problems are. So absolutely, as a product manager and a content creator, it's really getting to the core. What is the question that people have, and how can I best serve them and help them with the, background and expertise that I have in the area?
Fantastic. I'm going to share your TikTok profile so people can see how you have set it up. And I'm very curious because I am brand new to TikTok. And when I saw what you were doing, it just absolutely blew me away. I was very, very fascinated. And I'm really wanting to learn from you with this video. So on your account, when somebody's setting up an account, what is the best thing to do in terms of your profile? What are the things that should be there? I can see here that you have an email address. Kindness is free. Tell me, what are the things that should be in your profile that will attract people to you? Is there anywhere where you've got some hashtags so people can find your kind of content? Just talk to that for a minute.
Yeah, absolutely. I love that you're sharing this right now so we can walk through it. I think the most successful TikTok accounts are the ones that build community. And you mentioned it before. It's like, how do you build a community on TikTok through these videos? And it's really through your authenticity coming through in your videos. So people who are watching and consuming your content get a better feel for who you are. And so from my profile, you can see that one, I'm a product manager. That is my profession. And I clearly put that in the very top. So people know really what the focus of my content is. I don't do dance videos anymore. I don't do cat videos anymore. It really, for the most part, I think 80% of my videos are around the professional theme. Some of them are not and are more a little bit casual and fun, but definitely you have my role on the top. And the kindness is free is just, I guess it's just like a motto that I have, or something that I like to keep saying and remind people that, be kind. And that's more authentically who I am. All views are my own because while I am a TikTok creator, I also have ties to LinkedIn, a professional organization, and I want to make sure that that's represented there and I'm not an entity speaking on behalf of a corporation. Definitely an email and a link out. Emails for collaborations. I think creators, no matter what size you are, whether you're 1,000 or 1 million followers, there's definitely room for collaborations with brands, with partnerships with other creators. So they have to know how to reach you. So having an email there, I created my own professional email, and a link out, because on top of being a TikTok creator, there's so many other channels to connect with me and see all the other, I guess, endeavors, side projects that I have. I have my own NFT collection. I have a Discord for people within my community to talk to each other. That's all linked at the link at the top.
Fantastic. So we're going to go into one of your little videos. It's amazing what you can say with a very short amount of time. And like I said, I cyber stalked you when you registered to do this interview, and I've seen the value that you bring. So I'll just play one of the videos and we'll hear what you're saying. This one is about why people become product managers. Let me see if you can hear the sound.
Eminem? Who else? Who's number one? Jay-Z? No, that's cool. It's okay. That's
Drake
okay.
number 3.
That's okay. I thought Drake was going to be number one.
M's not even on the list.
Eminem? Who else was on the list?
Gooch.
Gucci. Gucci Mane? Was on the list. And Eminem went on it? Who's number one?
Jay.
So, where do you get the voices from? Who's doing the voiceover for you? That's a really quirky, funny little video. Tell me about that.
Yeah, totally. I don't think this video would fly anywhere else other than TikTok. Like, you take this video, upload it onto LinkedIn, upload it onto another, platform, it may not resonate the same way. So the premise is there's a rapper named Lil Wayne, and this is his voiceover. It's his voice in the video that I'm lip syncing over, and it's a trending sound on TikTok right now, which means that I'm not only using it, but thousands of other people are using the sounds and applying it to their own concepts. And what Lil Wayne is saying is like, this is 2006. He's like, who's the top rap artists of 2006? And someone is telling him it's Jay-Z. Oh, it's not Drake. Gucci's on the list. Gucci Mane's on the list. And so that's the premise here. It's super niche, and like I'm trying to explain a TikTok trend now, but people are using this to show what are the concept of like, how can we list things and what made the list, what didn't make the list. And so I took this sound and applied it to my niche of product management and tech, saying like, what are the reasons why people would want to go into product management? Here are the reasons. Why is this 3, not 1? Oh, this didn't even make the list. And so I think it's a quirky way of connecting with the people on TikTok who understand these like cultural references, like pop cultural references, and tying it to my professional niche.
All right. So where does someone like me wouldn't know the first place to find what's trending, what's going on TikTok? Where do you get that information from? I will call it research, but basically it is just scrolling on TikTok, putting time into, and time box time, so you're not scrolling for 2 hours, like 20 minutes turns into 2 hours is all too common. Yes. So really scrolling and seeing if there are videos with similar themes that pop up twice, just being very observant. Oh, it's the same sound, or oh, it's the same, lens that they're using, a filter that they're using. There's some theme around it that's trending right now, and trying to apply that to your own professional sphere or whatever niche that you're in. Fantastic. Now, I know that on TikTok, you can also use music that's trending, correct? That's right. And do you have to acknowledge the owner of the music when you post your video? What are the rules? There are copyright rules. You're definitely right there. I am not an expert at all, but for creators like myself who I think post these videos for fun, we just use these trending sounds. A lot of them is like licensed music, and a lot of the artists, for example, Doja Cat is a really popular artist on TikTok. Her sounds are trending all the time. And when we use her sounds as creators, that's totally fine. However, when creators do a brand deal or a partnership with a company, for example, let's say I'm working with Nike and Nike wants me to post a video, there are rules in there, and definitely an expert can speak on this, but I know that there's copyright rules and you can't use licensed music for those videos. Fantastic. Wow, there's so much to be learned from you with regards to TikTok. Are you helping other people who have their own content, who are wanting to branch into this space?
Yeah, absolutely. One of my career goals that I've recently figured out over the last 2 years is that I really want to help people become creators and make their creator tools a lot easier to use. For example, as a creator, how do I monetize? If I'm passionate about creating content in this space and teaching others, how do I make that my I guess career path and lifestyle? And how do I monetize off of that? And I'm really passionate on helping others do that. So I think my goal in the future is to start my own company to help creators, help people become creators, help them monetize and make a living off their passions. More immediately, I've started a creator community of people who are in the like professional creator TikTok space. So like I mentioned before, there are like finance TikTokers, law, tech TikTokers, and we have a community where we share strategies that we're trying out, experimentation, brand deals, and it really makes being a creator feel less alone, knowing that other people, we can exchange ideas and share thoughts there.
Fantastic. So how can people find you? What's the best way for them to reach you? Is it just through your email?
Yeah, totally. So through my email, my TikTok, and because I'm a LinkedIn employee and also use that platform every day, you can find me on LinkedIn as well.
Fantastic. Well, I look forward to seeing where you're going to go with this. I think you have hit on something absolutely phenomenal. I personally want to stay connected with you and see how you can help us with the HerStory movement as well. But thank you for coming. Don't go away because I have another opportunity for you that I want to share. But thank you to everybody who tuned in today. A lot of us who are over 50 think that TikTok is a frivolous platform. It's actually one of the cheapest places you can advertise if you have a campaign. It's much cheaper than Facebook. So I ran a few ads a couple of weeks ago. It was like 27 cents cost per click, which is ridiculously low. It's the lowest platform you can advertise right now. And there are people on that platform of our demographic. Check it out. Contact experts like Sherry. Get some expert help. We are missing out on a huge opportunity to leverage on a completely new platform that is really revolutionizing the way people do business. So Sherry, thank you so much for coming on board today. Absolute pleasure to learn from you this morning. And I wish you luck in setting up your business in the future. I can see you really have the skills to take this to another level. So I'll be back again tomorrow, everybody, with yet another amazing guest. In the meantime, have a fantastic day, morning, or evening, wherever you are in the world. Bye for now. Oops. That was another fascinating presentation, ladies. Jerry, what was your take on Sherry's presentation?
It was very interesting. I have what's the word? I would refuse to go on TikTok because I don't know. When I first started going on it, I kept getting these videos of moms cussing out their children, and I just won't be a part of that. So what I want to know is, how do you go on TikTok and get good content and not fall into watching? I mean, our kids are not allowed to go on it because of that same reason.
It's an algorithm that tracks what you're watching. So it's either you watched something maybe, and now the algorithm will keep feeding you more of the same. So what you need to do is find content that's positive and keep watching that, then it will change.
It will?
Yeah, there's an algorithm in the background that just tracks the interest that people have. And you might have stumbled on a video accidentally, not looking for it, but it's now part of your browser history on TikTok. That's why you keep getting more of that same content.
Well, I flat out quit watching it altogether because I didn't, I just don't want to.
No, it's a very good platform. I'll show you how to get rid of it. It's easy to get rid of it. It's the same with any social media platform these days. They are tracking your movements. They are tracking what content you're watching. And then it's just automatic. The algorithm starts feeding you more of the same content. So we can show you how to break that. It's not that difficult, but it's an excellent platform for anyone right now to share your message, your wisdom, your knowledge, and your skills. And I'm really wanting to encourage us older women to learn how to tap into these spaces, because there is a missed opportunity there if you don't.
Interesting. I think because what she has to say is so interesting and such such a pertinent thing. I didn't even realize people in business got on there at all. I had no idea.
If people more are using it more and more for business right now, it's amazing. Wow. Now Terry keeps dropping out. Terry, can you not come back in again? Let's see. Something is.
It looks like when I used my virtual background, it's doing something, but I deleted it, my picture, and it's still acting kind of crazy. It did that a little bit yesterday, so I'll just keep playing with it, or either I can talk to you while you guys look at the circle there.
We can see you now.
Yeah. Oh, you can see me? I can't see you.
We can see you now. When you go out, you disappear altogether.
Oh, okay. You see my name. Okay. But you don't see my face.
So ladies, I'm going to love and leave you for about 40 minutes. If you cue up the next video. Yeah, Jerry, if you could read the bio, I'll cue the video.
Which bio is it?
I think Valerie, is that the one you suggested, Terry?
Yes. Valerie Whalen.
Okay, I'll do her bio.
Okay.
Yeah. And I'll be back with you in 40 minutes time.
Okay.
Great.
I'll go ahead.
Go ahead.
Yes.
Valerie Weiland is a storyteller, nurturer, healer, Reiki master, creative, lover of the seen and unseen, ever-present student, and ever-evolving teacher. A Nigerian American, she was born and raised in Inglewood, California, and has called Western Australia home for over a decade. She is the founder of Brown Girl Bloom, a wellness space for Black, Indigenous, and women of color to slow down, heal, and bloom. In this space, she provides energy healing, guided meditation, wellness journals, and more. She is also a co-founder of Ayun Hair, ethical hair extensions, and the ever-evolving woman. We would like to welcome Valerie Whalen. Can you cue that up for me,
Terry? Hi, everyone. I'm Valerie Wayland. I am Nigerian American. I'm originally from beautiful Los Angeles, California, but I'm currently based in Western Australia, which is just as beautiful, and I am 35 years old. I'd also like to acknowledge the traditional custodians of the land that I'm connecting with you on today, the Wajik people of the Noongar Nation, acknowledging their elders past, present, and emerging. I'd also like to acknowledge my ancestors. My people are from the Igbo tribe in Nigeria. Just sending a lot of gratitude for how they've nurtured my journey thus far, as well as your ancestors who continue to guide and nurture your journey as well. My story starts in sunny California, living in a narrative not of my own, feeling quite indebted to the dreams of others, especially my parents. My parents are Nigerian immigrants, and they sacrificed everything to move to America and create a life that would give us all of the opportunities that we could ever ask for. So I felt indebted to them. And for much of my younger childhood and early adulthood, I really lived up to their expectations. Going to uni, majoring finance, getting a full scholarship, and landing a corporate job in finance. Now, the turning point was actually when I was sitting in a cubicle and looking at these gray walls. I don't know if you've worked in the corporate world, but you know that it's quite bland in nature. I was making a lot of money. I lived in a beautiful home. I could take vacations whenever I wanted, but even with all of these external attainments, I felt so empty within. And I began to ask myself, what does a meaningful life look like to you? And I didn't know. And this is natural. Most of us don't know because we never are given the opportunity to explore that. We're usually told what to do and we just follow that. So I did what everyone does, right? You take a strength-based test, you start reading books, you start trying to figure out what is your purpose in life? What is your why? And those didn't really create much clarity. But then I got this feeling of just moving without any real clear map of what moving looked like. I just felt like I needed to move. So in 2012, when Obama was president, child, I moved from America.
We lost the video.
We lost the video, Gertrude.
I think she's gone. She's not going to be back.
Hi, everyone. I'm Valerie Wayland.
Thank you.
I am Nigerian American. I'm originally from beautiful Los Angeles, California, but I'm currently based in Western Australia, which is just as beautiful. And I am 35 years old. I'd also like to acknowledge the traditional custodians of the land that I am connecting with you on today, the Wajik people of the Noongar Nation, acknowledging their elders past, present, and emerging. I'd also like to acknowledge my ancestors. My people are from the Igbo tribe in Nigeria. Just sending a lot of gratitude for how they've nurtured my journey thus far, as well as your ancestors who continue to guide and nurture your journey as well. My story starts in sunny California, living in a narrative not of my own, feeling quite indebted to the dreams of others, especially my parents. My parents are Nigerian immigrants, and they sacrificed everything to move to America and create a life that would give us all of the opportunities that we could ever ask for. So I felt indebted to them. And for much of my younger childhood and early adulthood, I really lived up to their expectations. Going to uni, majoring in finance, getting a full scholarship, and landing a corporate job in finance. Now, the turning point was actually when I was sitting in a cubicle and looking at these gray walls. I don't know if you've worked in the corporate world, but you know that it's quite bland in nature. I was making a lot of money. I lived in a beautiful home. I could take vacations whenever I wanted, but even with all of these external attainments, I felt so empty within. And I began to ask myself, what does a meaningful life look like to you? And I didn't know. And this is natural. Most of us don't know because we never are given the opportunity to explore that. We're usually told what to do and we just follow that. So I did what everyone does, right? You take a strength-based test, you start reading books, you start trying to figure out what is your purpose in life? What is your why? And those didn't really create much clarity. But then I got this feeling of just moving without any real clear map of what moving looked like. I just felt like I needed to move. So in 2012, when Obama was president, child, I moved from America and everyone thought that I was nuts. Why would you leave America? This is the best time to be there. But all I knew was that I needed to move. I could hear this whisper guiding me to move into a path that illuminated my inner essence. So I arrived in Western Australia as a professional basketball player. I know you weren't expecting that, but if you meet me in person, you'll see how tall I am and you'll be like, yes, she must be a basketball player. I mean, my eyes were sparkling when I got off the airplane and arrived here in Perth. And I just remember feeling so much excitement to begin this new journey of exploration. 3 months into that journey of really reaching the top of a career that I didn't even think that I was going to get to. So I played at the national level. Unbelievable, I'm sure. I did not think that I was going to get there. I had a career-ending injury. And so they sent me, I was in Canberra at that time, and they sent me back to Perth. And that's when things started to get really dark for me, because I thought that I was finally beginning to build the life of my dreams. And then it all came crashing down. They took away my pay, and I was living off savings, and no one wanted to be with me. Everybody wanted me to go home and start over. And to most people, I was a failure. I had lost everything. A lot of people were wondering why I gave up such a good job in America for this type of life. I ended up having 3 ankle surgeries and being in a cast for 3 months. I was living on the 2nd story of a 2-story house. And each day I would actually crawl up the stairs and drag my crutches with me just so that I could eat. I know it sounds so sad, and I honestly was more depressed at that point than I could say that I've ever been for most of my life. It was a really dark moment in my life. But the difference in that experience for me was that I was no longer in a space of asking, why me? Why is this happening to me? And it was more about, what am I meant to be learning from this experience? What can I tap into to help me grow and emerge into something beyond my own dreams and expectations? And each day that I would crawl up those stairs and drag those crutches with me, I stopped looking outside of myself and I started looking within. I started to see my own inner resilience, my own inner strength. I began to love myself in ways that I'd never experienced before. I began to nurture myself. I began to slow down for the first time. I began to close my eyes and observe all of the thoughts that would emerge. And I began to heal. The turning point for me was going into a dark place and realizing that all of this was calling me to begin that healing journey. And in filling my own cup with this abundance of love and compassion and empathy, I started to move in ways that aligned with who I really was. I went from working in a corporate world in basketball to doing guided meditations in nature. And I founded a space called Brown Girl Bloom. It's a wellness space for Black, Indigenous, and women of color to slow down, heal, and bloom in all of their glory and wholeness. I wanted a space where people, women that look like me, could experience the same type of healing and nurturing that I so desperately wanted, but didn't know that that was exactly what I needed. So what do? We sit in nature, we listen to the birds, we feel the wind, we observe what's happening within us, and we begin to just rest. I find that resting is something that we're never really encouraged to do, especially women of color, especially Black women, especially Indigenous women. Most of the time we look around ourselves and we see strong women who are completely unbothered and unshaken by the turbulence and the eruption that happens on an everyday, moment in all of our lives. But what I found, and what many of the women who've connected with Brown Girl Bloom have found, is that strength is actually vulnerability. Strength is resting. Strength is stillness. Strength is living with an open heart. Now, there was another huge turning point in my life. Now, we all are living through this pandemic right now, aren't we? But can anyone really begin to look back on that moment where we were all forced into stillness in 2020? That was such a deep moment for me. I'd found out that I was pregnant at the end of 2019, and I was so excited. This was my first baby. In March 2020, when COVID had visited Western Australia and it still hasn't left, I lost my first child. And I tried to book a ticket home so that I could mourn and grieve with my family and my mother and my siblings. But the borders were shut. I couldn't go anywhere. And my soul completely shattered. I fell again into another state of deep depression and darkness. I couldn't eat. And every time I tried to speak, I felt like someone was choking me and silencing my pain. And I allowed myself to grieve. I allowed myself to feel that pain and to sit with it. Not be it, but just to sit with that moment in my life. And in sitting with it, one day as the sun was rising and I could just see it piercing through my curtains, I knew that I just needed to close my eyes and trust the journey. And as I closed my eyes, I really began to see many of the walls that were sitting in my subconscious state that I'd built from childhood. The walls of lack and scarcity. And in that deepest moment of sadness and brokenness, those walls began to crumble. I didn't have like a formal solution or something that I needed to do. I just trusted the process. And each day I would intentionally close my eyes and just trust. And as I would close my eyes, tears would be rushing down my face. And I would just see those walls continually crumble until one point there were no more walls and I became unwavering love. This expansive, unwavering love that Bell Hooks talks about in her book, All About Love. The act of extending from one's own personal spiritual growth. It was my spiritual evolution into a higher level of being. At that same moment, the Black Lives Matter movement was happening here in Western Australia. And I felt called to share this deeply intimate experience that I was having. So I went to my very first protest meeting. And when they asked if anyone wanted to speak, I kind of meekly raised my hand and said that I would like to speak. In the next few days, I was standing on a podium in front of 10,000 eyes looking back at me. And all I could tell them that this was a moment for us to truly love one another, to truly see one another beyond our physical, to see each other's souls and embrace each other's souls and love each other in ways that we want to be loved. Now, love is not just the act of extending for your own spiritual growth, but it's also the act of extending for another's. It's a reciprocal experience of the individual and the collective. And this breaking point in my life, once again, was a moment of transition, a moment to inspire others to do the same. What I've learned in this journey thus far is that healing is an everlasting journey. It's an ocean of crashing waves and still water. It's a daily experience of constantly observing your thoughts and entrusting that all is well, no matter how difficult or easy it is. So I want to encourage you to embrace your journey, embrace the highs and lows, nurture yourself in each moment and be patient through that entire process.
Wow. You have been on a roller coaster ride. So many downs and so many ups and so many downs.
Hello, and thank you so much
What
for having me.
do you draw your strength from when you hit rock bottom? Imagine that there's somebody here right now who's going through a similar journey and they just don't have the energy to get up. If you could go back to your younger self and give yourself 3 nuggets of wisdom based on what life has taught you, what would you say?
My first immediate response is to just pause and be still. Don't try to immediately figure things out or judge that experience in your life. When I look back at my life and in those really difficult moments, the first thing I did was just to slow down. The next was really to be gentle with myself and my heart. Be gentle with the process, not assume that it needs to be fixed immediately, and not feeling like you need to look a certain way in order to be accepted by yourself or by others. So being gentle with my soul has been so essential. And the last is to give voice to your pain. That doesn't necessarily mean having to speak it out loud, but to express it in different ways so that it moves from your body into something outside of yourself, right? So it can be through the form of creating art or writing. I did a lot of that when I went through losing my child. I began to create art. I started writing poetry. I started painting. Through my painting, I began to really connect with my ancestors in ways that I hadn't before. And I know you only asked for 3, but the 4th is really just to know, as I shared before, that everything is a journey, healing is a journey, and there's never going to be a chapter in your life where you aren't going to be going through some form of turbulence or uncertainty or discomfort. So I think it's so important to embrace the discomfort just as much as we want to embrace joy and happiness.
Very, very wise words. They say that sadness and happiness are 2 sides of the same coin, right?
Mm-hmm.
You can't know what happiness is unless you've experienced sadness. And sometimes we just have to sit with it. I think a lot of times we rush to trying to solve things or find a solution to what's going on. But I think it's in those still moments that the answers actually percolate and come through.
Yeah.
Very, very wise words of wisdom. Now, you have been a minority most of your life.
Mm-hmm.
Wherever you've gone, you're that brown girl in the United States. You come to Australia, it's the same feeling. Now, I've been out of Africa since I was 19, and there hasn't been a day since I left that I haven't been asked by someone where I'm from. Do you experience the same thing?
Of course. No one's ever asked me where I'm from in America, to be completely honest.
Okay.
It's only when I moved to Australia to Western Australia, to be more specific, that people would ask me where I'm from. And I guess initially I felt conflicted with that type of question, simply because I have friends who are African Australian, who were born and raised in Australia, who look just like me. And I wonder, if they're asking me this simply by my physical appearance, then they would be asking my friends who are born and raised here. And I feel like that's a form of separatism. It's like, because we're constantly living in a way where we're detached from ourselves, when we're detached from nature, where we're literally detached and divided in almost every way you can think of, then naturally, like when we see someone who looks physically different from us, we assume that they're vastly different from us, rather than understanding that we're all interconnected and we're not exactly the same. We all have our unique gifts, but we are all from the human race. We're all human. We all want to be loved. We all experience love. We all experience pain, all of those things.
Yeah. Now, in your practice of meditation and yoga, what does that actually do for you on a psychological level, and why would you recommend it to anybody else?
When I first discovered meditation, I didn't know that it was meditation. I looked at it as observing my thoughts. That's the biggest practice that I embrace. And, in today's society, they say meditation, fine. But what it does for me on a psychological level is it allows me to detach from my external reality that is always constantly changing and deeply unbalanced, like in every part of your journey. And it invites me to stay grounded and calm at any moment in my life, and also to become more self-aware. And when you're living in a state of self-awareness, you're no longer in a state of constantly being triggered by the narratives of others and their perception assumptions about who you are or who you should be, which oftentimes when they do that, it deeply unsettles us. And maybe we might feel frustrated or angry or all of these different emotions. But when we're self-aware and we're observing our thoughts and we're operating from within rather than from like an external place of being, we always know that as long as we're an expression of who we truly are, that's all that matters. You know, I've had experiences where people have judged me based on my race, based on my gender. They've interacted with me in ways that I felt like are really disrespectful. And rather than taking on their energy, I know who I am, and I know that this person is simply a mirror of all of their own internal issues. So it really does allow you to detach from just like the external chaos and stay in a grounded state.
Yeah, I think you're very right. You have to do that just to protect yourself. Otherwise, you're absorbing all of this negativity all the time. So you get to make a choice how to react or respond to that.
Yeah.
Now, how can brown girls like you and me find you? How can people participate in your movement? Tell us a little bit about that.
Oh, well, it's quite simple. If you want to connect with Brown Girl Bloom, then I am most active on Instagram, and I definitely suggest following there. But if you're not active on the internet, or you just kind of occasionally tap in, I really just suggest like taking on some of the advice that I've shared in this space and spending more time in nature, spending more time taking yourself on dates where you are experiencing a deep sense of joy and peace. So that could be going on an artist date, or you go to the art gallery, or going for a quiet walk and just sensing all the things that are happening around you, which will help with your journey to self-awareness. Yeah.
Fantastic. So my last question for you is this. Is there anything I should have asked you?
No one asked me that question before. No, I enjoyed just sharing my journey with others. And, if anyone has any questions, or they just want to have a conversation, I definitely invite people to connect with me. I didn't share that I'm outside of meditation, I'm also a Reiki master. So I do like energy healing. I'm also a writer and poet. So, I'm currently working on more wellness journals and books for women to tap into. So they can find that all on my Instagram page.
Fantastic. Valerie, thank you so much for coming and gracing us with your presence today. Keep doing what you're doing. They say that peace begins with me. It's when each and every one of us are in that state of stillness that we change the world. So you really exemplify that. Your energy comes through so pure and so sweet. Don't change. Thank you to everybody who's tuned in today. The HerStory movement is attracting women from all over the world. Come back again tomorrow when I interview yet another amazing guest. In the meantime, have a fantastic day, morning, or evening, wherever you are in the world. And bye for now. Thank you, Valerie.
Okay, that was interesting.
Very interesting.
She did not rely on external happiness, other people. She found joy from within.
Yeah, she's the first person I've ever heard speak on the platform about losing or miscarrying a child. And I didn't ever lose or miscarry a child, but I have some daughters that have miscarried several. And I did not even realize how, because so little is said about it. Like she was saying, too many people don't share how they feel about it. That I feel like I miss opportunities to help, through such a trial. But she is a beautiful woman. My goodness. And as I was reading her bio, she has a lot of things going for her, and willing to teach what she's learned to others. And that's one of the things I really embrace is people who are willing to share what they've learned, and I hope to do the same.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
very well, nice.
Yeah, I've never lost a child either. When I finally decided to try to get pregnant with my third husband, and but I had to end up having a hysterectomy.
Oh.
And it's real, that postpartum depression thing.
Oh yeah.
We were out shopping. I had my mother and her senior crew out shopping for Christmas. And I walked through the babies department at this department store. And I don't even know where it came from. I just had to get myself under control. I was like, oh, wait. And that had been a year after I had the hysterectomy. And it was like, oh my gosh. So I started reading and I was like, I can't have another episode like that.
Yeah.
Okay. So I didn't allow myself to grieve by not being able to bear a child is what it amounted to.
Yeah.
Although I did, when the doctor told me I had to have that, I did go to my grandmother's grave on the way home from the doctor. And I said, well, Granny, I'm not going to have any children, And I don't know if it just came over me and I just said, okay, I tried.
Yeah.
But I hadn't grieved. So, and you don't hear people talking about that when they have the hysterectomy,
No.
So yeah.
After my fourth child, I had a hysterectomy.
Yeah.
But I already had children, so
yeah.
Hysterectomy is completely different for a woman who's already had children.
Yeah.
And, I was glad to be rid of it all.
I came to be happy about it after I figured out what was going on. And my mom said, everybody's not intended to be a mother. You may be placed in a motherly role, which I have helped with my nieces and nephews and great nieces and nephews, and auntie's always there. So.
And you're helping mother your mom. What did you call your mom's group of friends? You have a term for that. What is it? My mom and her
and her senior crew.
Senior crew. That is so cute.
Her senior crew. Every Christmas, I would take them out Christmas shopping.
Oh, that's
every Christmas, and it was always the Friday, Good Friday, Black Friday thing, and so I pick them up for breakfast. Okay, and round them all up, gather them for breakfast, and we'd be at the restaurant, and they fight over who's going to buy my breakfast. I'm paying for breakfast. No, I'm going to pay for lunch. No, you do that. So we would be at the store, and I had to start being careful about what I would pick up and say, oh, that is so cute, and then I put it down with no intention of buying it. We get in the car, and they go, here, I have something for you. I mean, they're like fighting over me. And I'm like, you guys, I'm just doing this because I love all of you. I've known you for so long, Yeah, so that's another story. That I can do.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah.
And when I first met my current husband, I had a group of girlfriends that we hung around, and he used to call them my entourage. Like, I don't have an entourage.
Yeah,
just my girlfriends.
Call them my seniors. Yeah.
Yeah, that's neat.
Yeah.
That's neat.
Okay. Can you read the next one? Okay, Parker.
Yes, I can.
I will queue up the video because Gertrude sent it to me. Okay.
Okay, I will.
We'll go ahead and do that. I'd appreciate it. Let's see if I can
have it ready to go. Okay. Kay Parker is an internationally recognized influencer and mental health advocate committed to breaking the silence and the stigma surrounding miscarriage. She's been in the public eye for a lot of her life. Her childhood has been described as eventful. She was adopted and she grew up, and as she grew up, she explored her creative side, leading to an early music career. Today, after surviving multiple challenges that can only be described as devastating, including the loss of her son, she is a proud mom of three other children, and a strong voice for millions of those who have been through the deep trauma of losing a child to miscarriage. Something most of society is afraid to discuss. Sharing her story wasn't easy. She has found it to be a deeply emotional experience, but it's helping her heal, and it's making her see how sharing her story empowers others who might not be able to find the words to express themselves, and helping others to understand their own loved ones in similar circumstances. It also lets people know that they too can get through it. Kay is also the host of a popular online live TV show, Trials and Tribulations, where she conducts compelling interviews with guests encompassing their success, failures, and important takeaways. Kay was recently featured in a high-profile 5 Things to Know.
It's 3 o'clock.
5 Things You Need to Know to Heal After a Dramatic Loss or Life Change series. The article in Authority magazine. She is a frequent guest on radio, TV, and podcasts around the world. It's our pleasure to welcome Kay Parker's interview.
I'm so blessed to be here. My name is Kay Parker. I am 31 years old and I am here in Niagara, Ontario, Canada. I want to talk about my story to break the stigma of miscarriages and my journey through psychological isolation to get to where I am today. It's still a very heartbreaking story to tell. I will pause and I will probably get emotional, and I hope I can resonate with people who are listening today. When I got pregnant with my fourth child, I would have never expected what was coming next. And as every woman who has had a child, you're so excited for your future. You start making plans and you never anticipate for anything to go wrong. It was close to Christmas time and I was at my regular ultrasound. I'll never forget that day. I went in and just like all the others, my baby looked perfect. Perfect head, perfect body, perfect fingers, perfect toes. And then the technician shut the ultrasound monitor off. I knew something at that point was wrong. I didn't understand. I asked questions and she told me to go straight to my doctor. I was frustrated. I was angry. I obviously knew something was wrong. I didn't hear the heartbeat and I couldn't understand why. I went to my doctor's office immediately after. And when I went into her office, I just was surrounded by people waiting to see her. I went up to her secretary and I was yelling and I said, I'm not going to stand here and wait for somebody to tell me my baby has died. She let me in right away and everything else was a blur. I was blacked out. The only thing I remember is my doctor coming in and telling me that I received divine mercy. And sometimes things happen far greater than our understanding. Shortly after that, my husband at the time was so wonderful and was trying to make me feel better about the situation. And he wanted to see me smile and he wanted to try to make me happy. So he went to get pedicures. I was in a state of shock. I was supposed to be going for a maternity photo shoot. And the photo shoot that I have now has a completely different significance. We were supposed to be going to our children's Christmas play, my daughter's dance recital. I still continue to do those things. Life still had to move on, yet I had to mask everything that I was feeling. When the photo shoot happened with Brian Caparici, I will forever treasure those moments. I have these photos of the pain, the resiliency of where I was in that moment when I told that my future was no longer happening. Following the shock of that day, I went to get my blood work done just to verify that the ultrasound was indeed correct, that my son no longer had a heartbeat. I waited for the results. I got a call back, and the status never changed. The levels kept on increasing. I was so excited. I was like, oh my goodness, the technician was wrong. And I remember writing in my journal how excited I was. And then we had to go for a follow-up ultrasound. There was still no growth, still no heartbeat. The emotions that I had to go through of thinking that I had a hope and a chance that my baby would still be alive. I remember laying in my bed every single night, being afraid to move to the left or to the right, holding my stomach, taking my husband's hand and putting it over my stomach, wishing that he could fix it, if I could fix it, if anybody could fix this. I was in the bargaining stage. I was always trying to find reasoning and understanding as to why this happened. I was fueled by guilt. I was fueled by shame. I was confused. I was angry. And when we finally got the blood work that showed that the levels started going down, I had to make the decision if I was going to keep the baby and have him choose when to go naturally, or if I was having to go in for surgery. I chose to keep him. So for weeks, I went through life trying to continue on as if I had no pain to bear at all. And my girlfriend at the time, she was having a baby and she asked me to be part of her pregnancy, to be her doula. And while she went through complications and nearly died, I was the one that had to take her baby, who she never got to hold, and help her and the baby and her husband get reunited. I was the one that had to teach her husband how to feed the baby, to burp, to swaddle, and I feel like I robbed her of those moments. So while she was going through surgery to try to make it through for her family, I was the one that had these moments with her son. It was a blessing and a curse. When she finally came to, I brought the two of them together and I saw how beautiful their family was, and I was able to go back home. That was the night that I gave birth to my son in my bathroom tub. The moment of being so alone and giving birth to a child that doesn't cry, holding him in my hands and not understanding why, I don't wish that on anybody. As a society, I feel like it's my duty that I talk about my trauma and my pain and make it a purpose. I want to break the stigma. I want women to be able to express everything that they're going through, everything that they're feeling. I know for me, I felt so psychologically isolated. I didn't know how to go about my pain. I didn't know that anybody understood my pain. I felt so alone. And that's why it's so imperative for me today to create a platform where people feel seen, people feel understood, and people understand that everything that happens in your life is going to be for a reason. And my reason, and I believe so much for what happened with my son, I truly believe he sacrificed his life so that I can have mine, that I can grow, and that I can help others and teach others along the way what I've learned. The ups and downs of my emotions were the scariest things. I couldn't recognize myself. I couldn't recognize my behaviors. I couldn't recognize my choices. I couldn't recognize my thoughts. The whole time, the 3 years that I've been struggling since this time, I had to really explore my shadow side. I really had to explore and take the time to really analyze my life and how I would be able to move forward with the trauma, how trauma affects people, how you develop yourself through trauma. And I found the more that I spoke about it and connected with others about it, I realized how alone or how not alone I was. 1 in 4 women miscarry, and yet society has this large stigma on it. And now I want to spend my time making sure that women never have to feel like they are less of a woman for going through this, that they should not feel shame. They should not feel like they are blamed, and that whatever they are feeling, whatever emotions that they are going through, they are valid. And I don't want anybody to ever feel like it's their fault for situations that are out of their control. And I want to provide tools that can help you and others who are going through the same thing. That's, I guess, a little story of everything.
Wow. Hey, you went through a lot. There is nothing like losing a child and having to carry that baby in utero quite a few months before you were able to release him. But it sounds to me that you've really processed what this all meant. You said that he sacrificed himself so that you could live. It's a very interesting perspective because a lot of times women blame themselves when things go wrong, yet something worse could have happened if you had carried that baby to term. So if there is a woman who is listening to us right now, who's in a similar position or has gone through a similar experience and is trying to recover, what 3 nuggets of wisdom can you give? What would you have wanted somebody to say to you at that time?
It's not your fault. It's not your fault. It's not your fault. It is as simple as that. When you're in the stages of grief, you're in the bargaining stages, you're in the exploratory stages. I remember trying to grasp at straws, trying to understand why it all meant. And I keep on repeating what my doctor told me, divine mercy, divine mercy. There's far there's far greater to our understanding. And I did anything and everything I could possibly do. But just know that you are not alone. There are people and women who have been through the exact same thing. Some like myself who are open to talk about it. Please reach out at any point in time. There are resources through your local communities that you can use. There are mental health advisors that can help you. And I think one of the biggest things is to not feel ashamed. And don't live in a fear-based mindset. So when you have these dark thoughts and when you are experiencing these deep emotions, feel them to your core. Don't suppress them. Allow yourself the time to grieve. Allow yourself the time to process. No one can tell you how to process your trauma, and no one can give you a timeline or how and when your processing should end. Do what is best for you, that is healthy for you and your loved ones around you, and never feel that you cannot speak about it, that you don't have a voice, and don't be afraid to ask for help.
Yeah, that's a very, very powerful message. I lost my second pregnancy, and I remember my doctor saying to me, this was nature's way of quality control, that something could have been wrong with the baby. And my husband was away at the time. I was alone. I had 2 kids by then, and it was like, why is this going wrong? Why now? So you did mention earlier that this happens to so many women. A lot of women lose their pregnancies. And what people tend to forget is the minute you find out you're pregnant, you're already attached to that child. That's the thing about being a mother and carrying a child in your womb, right? You are already attached to that baby before you even see it. It's growing inside you. In Africa, we have a saying, I'll see if I can translate it, but vana vangu ura wangu means my children are my intestines. They are that much a part of you. They come from you. They are in you. And that's why it's such a difficult tie. It's difficult to sever yourself from those children, whether they live or whether they die. The other beautiful thing that you said is about grief, and that we have to take your time to process it and to allow those emotions to come. I had a very interesting friend who has helped me manage my emotions throughout my life. He said that your emotions are like your children. When your children come to you, they want your attention. You never push them away. If anything, you pull them close to you, you give them your attention, and once they've got what they need, they move on. So it's the same with our emotions. They pass through us. So sometimes when you're feeling that sadness and that grief, you just have to sit with it for a little bit. Don't fight it, because it's when you fight it that you really start spiraling and going down.
Yes.
So many lessons that you've shared with us today. It's such an honor to meet you. So did you go on to have any more children? Where are you now? How are you emotionally?
So I have Jack. JD was my last pregnancy, which is a son that I had lost. So I have 3 children who were born prior to Jack. So for the past 3 years, I've honestly been grieving and I've been healing. And again, I really had to take the time. And thankfully, this is probably I'll be the only person that says this. I was blessed with a global pandemic where I was forced to sit with myself. I was forced to really look inside. I wasn't able to distract myself any longer. There was nowhere else to go but inside. And so not only, like you said, my emotions were here, my feelings were here, and I had to take the time and I had to look them directly in the face and my shadow side and finally confront all the things that were not serving me or the people who I loved. And so I spent the past 3 years, and will continue, healing never ends, and learning and growing and developing never ends. But I really had to take the time to learn how to regulate my emotions and master emotion regulation and distress tolerance, and learn about primary adaptive emotions. A lot of the times when people try to heal a certain aspect of their life, they may like, oh, I'm angry. And they think that they're trying to resolve the anger. But the primary adaptive emotion might just actually be sadness. So a lot of the times when you don't fully understand your emotions, you're actually not healing the root of the real emotion that's causing a reaction. So I had to take a step back and learn everything that I was avoiding to learn, or that I was too afraid to learn. And when you're going through the healing process, which again is never ending, it takes a lot out of you emotionally, physically, and mentally. And again, I talked about briefly, but I made a lot of really poor decisions in my trauma and in my grief that were unrecognizable, and it wasn't something I would do. And it was very not in my character. But in order to go up, I had to reach my rock bottom. So what I'm doing now is just spreading awareness. I wrote an article about my entire story, and now I just want to spread that awareness and empower women and empower people to just be their authentic selves. I want people to understand that it's okay to feel your feelings, and it's okay to showcase those emotions. And the more we as a society judge others and use apathy instead of empathy, and not understand that we truly are one, this is where the problem lies. I created a show, it's a little bit over a year old now, with over 70 episodes, called Trials and Tribulations, which I host on Wednesday nights on Instagram and YouTube Live. And Trials and Tribulations is where I have a guest on, and we just talk about their trials and tribulations and how they got to where they are today through that. And the one thing that I have found through speaking with people, such a diverse range, from celebrities to homeless drug addicts, that we are all the same. We are not different. We might physically look different, but we all feel the same. We all have the same insecurities. We all want the same, we all have human truths that are the same. And my goal is to end stigmas, to encourage empowerment and empathy, and to bring everyone together as one.
That is amazing. I was looking at the picture of your photo shoot, and it's a very surreal image. And I'm so glad that you did capture that moment and not try to, push it away or try to forget that it happened. It's an absolutely amazing image.
Thank you. It's such an image that I still look and I have tears in my eyes, because I remember what I was feeling when he took those photos. And I remember he was so professional about it. And he was like, my wife has gone through the same thing. I understand if you don't want to continue with the photo shoot. And I said, what better way to capture him, like capture the moment? I'm still his mother. He is still my son. And even I was still able to hold him, but he was inside of me. And yeah, this photo is everything to me. And I'm just so happy that I would recommend this for any woman. It was very hard to do in the moment, especially the day of, like very shortly after hearing the news. But how I processed the trauma, I'm very happy with how I did it. My son and I wrote a book together, and he wrote through miscarriage through the eyes of a child. Wow. And it's something that I have that I would love to publish one day. It's one of my goals. And it kind of made me realize that the trauma of a miscarriage isn't just about the mother or the father. It affects your community. It affects everybody around you. And my son, every single day, while we were waiting for me to give birth to him, he would come and he would put his hands and his head on my stomach. And he was like, I miss you. Run back home. Come home. I want to play with you. He was so excited to be a big brother. And to this day, he's like, Mommy, come on. I want to be a big brother. I want to have a little brother. And it breaks your heart. But that's when I realized that it's not just about me. And I had to help him heal and give him the time and the process for my son to understand what life is, what death is. Yeah. And that's something very hard to explain to a child.
It is. It sure is. Kay, I could talk to you forever. Thank you so much for gracing us with your presence today. And thank you for being vulnerable and sharing your story. I believe that as women, we can change the world one story at a time, one woman at a time. Hopefully there'll be a woman out there who picks up on this video interview and sees a bit of light at the end of her tunnel. My last question for you is this. If time was an illusion and I could take you into the future, you're now 100 years old, you're surrounded by your children and your great-grandchildren, and you're sitting in your rocking chair, the sunset is there. If you could have a conversation with the future you, that amazing woman who's leading you there right now, what would you say to her based on how you're living your life right now?
Oh, I would just say, I hope you followed your soul. If I am surrounded by my children and my grandchildren and all of my loved ones, I know I did something right. And at the end of the day, if you're surrounded by people who love you and you love in return, what's greater than that? And I think that's what's so exciting about life. I used to be very fearful of the future. I used to love having control of everything, of every aspect. Because if I had control over everything, then nothing could go wrong. Or if there was something that could go wrong, I would already know about it or would anticipate it. And now, because of the adjustments that I've made in my life and how I'm living my life now, I wake up every day and my goal is simply to love others, to learn something new every day, and to choose happiness. And I have no idea what the future is going to bring. And that excites me. And I hope my older self just continued to choose happiness and following her soul and knowing that no matter what people say or think or do, I just stay true to myself and continue to put my family and my loved ones first while staying authentically me.
Wonderful. Happiness is truly a choice. You're right. And it's making that conscious choice on a day-by-day basis. Thank you so much for being with us today. Thank you to our amazing audience who tune in every day to this show. If you know somebody who has gone through a struggle similar to this, please share this video. I'll be back again tomorrow with yet another amazing guest. Kay, don't go away. In the meantime, have a fantastic day, everybody, wherever you are in the world. Bye for now.
That was an
That was a great interview.
It really was. And it's so funny that on the last one we started talking about this, I didn't realize this was the one that was coming up.
I didn't either until I started reading the profile. I went, the bio. I went, oh, wow.
We've already prefaced that, right?
Right.
It was wonderful. It was wonderful.
Yes. I really admired that she went ahead with the photo shoot because that did document him. And sometimes I think when we lose someone, lose a child and it's not documented, you just look back and you just wish so much that you had pictures. And so, it shows in that photo how she was feeling. Like it was a very somber picture, but it still showed how much she loved him. And still, obviously, of course, she still loves him, but that was really beautiful. And she said she's still grieving, going through the grieving process. And so
we all grieve differently.
Oh yeah. Everybody grieves totally differently. I had a very interesting experience when I was pregnant with my third child. My sister was pregnant with her first, and the same thing happened to her. Baby passed, and she knew for a whole month that he had passed, or she. I don't know if it was a boy or girl. And so we were very excited about being pregnant together and about having babies together. And so she called me one day and said, she wanted to come over and get her hair done. And when she showed up at the front door, she said, "Let's go out to lunch." And I'm like, okay. And then while we're in the restaurant here, I was 8 months pregnant. She was 5 months pregnant. And she tells me the baby has died and they're going to take him the next day because it's causing her, leaving a baby in can cause toxemia.
Yes. It poisons your system. Yeah.
Yeah. So they had to take him, but I started crying. She started crying. Here we're in this, I'll never forget, this restaurant, and everybody's looking at us, we're sobbing. I'm thinking, you probably should have told me at home, But luckily for her, she was able to get pregnant again really soon, and then within the next year, she had her son, and just recently became a grandmother by her son, which kind of made, helped her to heal. I think her case, because it was her first child, I think that helped her to heal. But that's very well done. I hope she does publish that book that her and her son wrote, because I think there's definitely a market for children who have experienced the loss of a sibling before they even got to hold them. That it would be healing. It would help others heal.
Yeah, I think so too. Yeah.
Very nice.
I think we have two more. I'm not sure if Gertrude's on or not.
Yeah, I am on, ladies. I think we will stop here.
Okay.
For the day. This was wonderful. Thank you both so much.
Was a good day.
Holding space for these beautiful stories and the reconnections we had with Marilise. And yeah, this was a very, very special morning. So we'll be back again tomorrow, same time, same place.
Okay. Sounds good. I have invited Cher to come. She finally published her book, and
wonderful.
I invited her to come in and share her book, and she said she would try and do that tomorrow. I told her sometime between.
That's Jerry's daughter. She's spoken on the platform before, so it'll be wonderful to reconnect with Cher. Awesome, Jerry. Thank you, ladies. I'll see you tomorrow, and goodbye to everybody in the world. 7 a.m. New Zealand time, 9 a.m. in Australia. Terry, what time in Central?
2 p.m. Central
time. And Jerry, are you on the same time as Terry?
No, I'm in California right now, so it'd be 12 o'clock or noon.
California. Okay.
Okay.
All right. Thank you.
Thank you, ladies.
I've had a great time today.
Bye for now.
Bye-bye.